I, who only wanted to play football, became the Hollywood heartthrob. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 500. Chelsea and Arsenal fans are here too. Tottenham's fake home. In an interview with Tottenham players disclosed by reporters later, Tottenham players revealed that Redknapp coach never arranged any specific running positions for us. He only told us, "Do you want to win? Then pass the ball to Modric, and you can win." You know, at this time, Modric had just grown up, and he was not the world famous Modric who won the Golden Globe award with Messi and Ronaldo. This is the uniqueness of Redknapp's vision. However, when the opponent thought Modric was the core, Tottenham's defo scored 5 goals in one game. Tottenham has no tactics, which is his tactics. In other words, the tactics of the magician Redknapp are essentially anti-tactics. In the general trend, that almost all coaches emphasize the connection between the 3 lines of the formation and even require players to run according to the triangle formation, Redknapp is a counter-current. He does not require whether the 3 lines are balanced, nor does he require players to run according to the way he sets. His famous saying is, arrange 11 people in their most suitable positions and let them play by themselves. The full degree of freedom also makes this Tottenham team extremely difficult to figure out, with a very varied and passionate style of play. This is also the reason why Tottenham was able to upset and eliminate the powerful Red Devils Manchester United in the quarter-finals. At this time, the on-site press officer announced the official start of the pre-match press conference. A reporter raised his hand first to ask Coach Redknapp how he saw the game with Southampton, what was his evaluation of Guran, and when all the major giants wanted to compete for Guran, was he interested in putting Guran in the White Lilies uniform? Redknapp immediately smiled and said that he had coached Southampton and his son also retired from Southampton, so he had feelings for the Southampton club. He was very happy that Southampton could achieve such results and reach the League Cup final. So in his opinion, no matter what the result of today's game was, Southampton had actually won. This high-level speech immediately received applause from Tottenham reporters and Southampton reporters. Old Ray continued to say that as for the superstar Guran, Tottenham certainly wants him, but Tottenham has Bale on the left back, Modric in the midfield, and Van der Vaart, Crouch, and Defo on the forward line, and Guran's transfer fee must be very high. From a pragmatic point of view, Tottenham will not participate in the competition with other giants for the time being, but if Guran is willing to come to Tottenham, then Tottenham will definitely not let him go. Another reporter asked Old Ray about his prediction for this game and the players' current game mentality. Old Ray replied that this game must be very important for Southampton because they have never won the League Cup, while Tottenham has won the League Cup 4 times and has entered the final more times. However, this does not mean that Tottenham does not value this final. Tottenham's desire for glory is as strong as the Knights' desire for honor. In addition, the Premier League this season is very fierce. We are currently ranked 6th. We must win the League Cup to ensure the Europa League next year. Whether in terms of glory or the needs of the event, we must win today. After another round of questions, the press officer announced that the questions for Coach Redknapp were over, and the reporters turned to Coach Adkins. The reporters asked, as a coach who had no reputation before, what is your mentality at this moment when you meet a senior in the League Cup final? What is your prediction for the result of the game? Coach Adkins replied that Redknapp is indeed a respectable senior who is always in danger and always able to turn the tide. Before he took over West Ham United was the bottom team, but after he coached for a whole season, West Ham United rose to the middle of the Premier League. When he took over Portsmouth had been relegated from the Premier League, but soon returned to the middle of the Premier League. When he took over Tottenham had fallen from a Premier League powerhouse to a lower tier team, but in just one season, Tottenham returned to the top 4 of the Premier League, and this year Tottenham played in the Champions League. Adkins continued to say that as a coach working in a lower league, he admired Coach Redknapp very much. Of course, admiration is admiration, and competition is competition. The more he respects Redknapp, the more he can inspire his fighting spirit and potential. Adkins also reminded that, although Tottenham is strong, and they beat Manchester United, his Southampton also beat Everton, Manchester City and Chelsea to get here. Although Southampton is far less powerful than Tottenham, if the winner can be determined only by the strength on paper, then there is no need to play the game. Just input the data into the computer and let the computer decide the winner. But in fact, this cannot be done. Adkins said that Southampton's goal has never been to create history, but to play steadily and win every game that can be won. When asked how to make good use of the superstar Guran, Coach Adkins smiled and said, "Don't worry, when the game starts, everyone will see Guran's unparalleled performance." After the reporters asked some other questions, the press officer announced the end of the pre-match press conference. The coaches of both sides shook hands and wished each other to play at their best. After the press conference, the players of both teams continued to rest and adjust in their respective locker rooms. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the fans entered the stadium. The Wembley Stadium, which can accommodate 90,000 people, was soon full. Tottenham Hotspur fans wearing white lily jerseys sat in the south stand, while Southampton Saints wearing red and white jerseys sat in the north stand. In addition to Tottenham fans and Southampton fans, there are also many neutral fans who came to watch the game today. These neutral fans are basically Arsenal and Chelsea fans. They are all in London, the closest to Wembley Stadium, and today they are all here to cheer for Southampton. Putting aside the fact that Arsenal and Chelsea both want to poach Guran, just because of the century-old feud between them and Tottenham, they must cheer for Southampton. So, on the surface, Tottenham fans are more than Southampton fans, but in fact, about 60% to 70% of the fans in this stadium are here to support Southampton. Tottenham also mixed a fake home. Before the players started to play, the fans of Chelsea and Arsenal shouted to the fans of Tottenham, "Fark bite CF." The whole stadium was full of gunpowder. In fact, Southampton and Tottenham were not mortal enemies at all, but with the presence of Chelsea and Arsenal fans, the situation was difficult to control. After the referee checked the field, Southampton took the lead in entering the field to warm up. The Southampton fans, Chelsea fans, and Arsenal fans at the scene cheered and shouted at Guran. When the Tottenham players entered the field to warm up, the Southampton fans, Chelsea fans, and Arsenal fans at the scene booed wildly. Chapter 501. Greetings from Gareth Bale, a fellow student in the true sense. Tottenham Hotspur Club was founded in 1882. The club's ancestors' brilliant achievements can almost be called a giant. Tottenham Hotspur was the first team in the 20th century to win both the league and the FA Cup. It is one of the 3 teams that can win 2 consecutive FA Cups and the only team that has achieved this achievement twice. Tottenham Hotspur has won the English League One Championship, the top league at that time, twice, the FA Cup Championship 8 times, and the League Cup Championship 4 times. The most recent one was won in 2008. Tottenham Hotspur is also one of the teams that have won the most League Cup titles. If they can win today's game, they will become the team that has won the most League Cup titles. In addition, Tottenham Hotspur also won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1963, which was the first time that an English team won the European Cup Winners' Cup. The European Cup Winners' Cup was discontinued in 1999, but before 1999, the European Cup Winners' Cup was the most influential of the 3 major European Cups. The participating teams must be the top cup champions of UEFA member associations. For example, England can only send the FA Cup champions to participate, and not the League Cup champions of a slightly lower level. Tottenham won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1963, after winning the FA Cup in 1962. This is also the most valuable and unrepeatable championship trophy that Tottenham has won so far. In addition, Tottenham has won the UEFA Cup twice and the European Super Cup once. The European Super Cup is the highest honor in European club competitions. It is produced by the duel between the Champions League champion and the UEFA Cup champion of that year. It is equivalent to the new version of the European Cup Winners' Cup. However, because the Super Cup only has 1 game, its influence is far less than that of the European Cup Winners' Cup, and its gold content is naturally a little worse than that of the European Cup Winners' Cup. In addition, Tottenham has won the Community Shield 7 times. As for the other league runner-ups, third place winners, League Cup runner-ups and third place winners, and FA Cup runner-ups and third place winners. There are too many to count. With so many honours, why can't Bebe be called a giant? It's very simple. Tottenham has no Premier League championship. Tottenham's only two top league championships date back to 1950 and 1960. In Europe, to be called a giant, the most basic bottom line is to be able to dominate the country and form a dynasty. For example, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, which is forming a dynasty after Abramovich took over. How to dominate the country? It's not about the trophies of the Europa League and the Champions League, nor the trophies of the Community Shield, the FA Cup, and the League Cup, but the League Championship. Of course, the fans of the club hope to win more trophies, and the players naturally pay more attention to whether they can play in European competitions for their value and fame. But for the club, the cornerstone is the league results. With the league results, the club can operate steadily, and the club's culture and heritage will become more and more solid. However, if there is no league performance, or if there are frequent ups and downs and long-term depression, then even if they have won the European Cup Winners' Cup, they are not really a giant, but only a Premier League powerhouse, that their ancestors have been glorious. From the perspective of heritage, Tottenham is always a little bit worse. If you have to force it, Tottenham can only be regarded as a quasi-giant, a second-tier giant. Of course, the Tottenham team under Redknapp can basically be regarded as the strongest lineup in the history of the Tottenham club. Although Tottenham had Kane and Son Heung-min as two pillars in the later period, the Tottenham team of Kane and Son Heung-min did not encounter Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool of this era. In the era when Manchester United and Chelsea were the strongest, they could still snatch the fourth place from Arsenal. The strength of this Tottenham team does not need any other proof. After 40 minutes of adaptive warm-up, the players of both sides left the field and returned to their respective locker rooms for the final mobilization. Coach Adkins' eyes slowly swept across the faces of each of the main players, and finally he took a deep breath. Play well. Captain Davis cleared his throat and stood up. Brothers, what the coach means is that we have come this far. We are already the winners. We should not have any psychological burden. Just do it. Win the League Cup. We will be the heroes of Southampton. The girls in Southampton will be crazy about us. All the bars will be open to us for free, and we will be able to indulge in revelry without any scruples. For that moment, fight with Tottenham. Fight. Fight. The Southampton players were as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Especially Mikel, the Chelsea player who had just been loaned to Southampton. Mikel was not doing this to pick up girls, but to fight against Tottenham, the mortal enemy in Southampton. As a Chelsea player with blue blood flowing in his body, Mikel wanted to exert 200% of his energy. After the players clasped their hands and shouted, the Southampton team lined up in the player channel in high spirits. Duran stood in the middle of the team, looking at the familiar faces in Tottenham Hotspur that he had seen on TV. The old golden boy Van der Vaart, Modric, and Defoe, the number one player in football. When Duran was distracted, a hand patted Duran on the shoulder from behind. Duran thought it would be Crouch, who was eating ginger, but when he turned around, it was the great Saint Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale smiled at Duran in a friendly manner. Hey, boo, I've been following Southampton. I've seen your game highlights a long time ago. You're really good, especially your outside lane overtaking. Duran said quickly. Hello, Gareth Bale. It's an honor to play with you. Bale smiled and said, we are both from Southampton, and we were both discovered by Old Rice. It's not an exaggeration to say that we are from the same school. Let's not be so polite to each other. Let's play well in this game. How about we exchange jerseys after the game? Duran said immediately. Okay, no problem. Okay, then it's settled. Come on. You too, Gareth. The two shook hands and bumped shoulders. At this time, under the leadership of the referee, the players of both sides officially appeared on the field and lined up for the handshake ceremony. After the handshake ceremony, the captains of both sides came to the referee to guess the side of the coin. Needless to say, the captain of the Southampton team is still the experienced and influential Davis, while the captain of the Tottenham team is their main central defender, number 26 player, Ledley King, a tough and brittle star who can make Henry shake his head and Robbie sigh. Chapter 502, Tall Crouch. Southampton club manually likes it. Southampton captain Davis guessed the front and back, and got the priority to choose the side, while Tottenham captain Ledley King got the priority to kick off for Tottenham. The two captains shook hands with the referee team, and exchanged team flags. The players of the two teams also took photos in their respective half of the field, and then formed their formations. Southampton's formation was the 42-31 formation that they had recently practiced intensively. Lallana was the striker in front. Although Lallana is not tall and not strong enough, it is difficult for him to compete with the defenders of the Premier League's strong teams head on. But Lallana is flexible enough, and most importantly, Lallana can play as a front midfielder / central midfielder, and can retreat at any time to get the ball or help defend, help intercept and counter rob on the spot, etc. This is difficult for Gurley and Canali to do. Coach Adkins' 42-31 formation is actually more like an O-striker formation. After all, most of the time, Southampton cannot play against a strong team like Tottenham. The three forwards are Chamberlain, Lambert, and Schneiderlin. The three of them, plus Lallana in front, form the first line of defense for Southampton. But in fact, Southampton's first line of defense is not just these four people, but also Guran, who is standing in the defensive midfielder position. Southampton's double defensive midfielders are Guran and Mikel. Mikel is behind Guran, helping Guran to deal with the dirty work and defending the entire backline, which is considered the second line of defense for Southampton. Guran is the most special. Today, Guran is not only the second line of defense, but also the first line of defense for Southampton, and also the last line of defense for Southampton. With Mikel, Guran can also roam around the field with confidence and do whatever is needed. Mikel's joining also makes Southampton's overall defense very three-dimensional, so that when being oppressed by strong teams, Southampton's defense system will not be instantly crushed, and there will be a lot of spare capacity to deal with dangerous attacks. The left back is still not very good. Hammond. Hammond is a defensive midfielder and a right-footed player. It is uncomfortable to be in the left back position, but Coach Adkins has no better choice. Secondly, he does not need the left back to assist and cooperate. He only needs to defend without making mistakes. This is not a big problem for the experienced veteran Hammond. The right back is Richardson. Richardson's state has been very stable recently. Although Richardson's assist ability is not very strong, he still does a good job in wing defense. The two central defenders are JD and Font. The level of these two central defenders is roughly equivalent to that of the top teams in the English Championship. It is not enough to be placed in the Premier League. Fortunately, there is Guran, so Southampton's defenders have come all the way to now, facing Everton, Manchester City, and Chelsea, and have never collapsed. Finally, Southampton's goalkeeper is still Davis, who has performed bravely. Davis's own strength level is good, but if he reaches the level of the English Premier League goalkeeper, it is definitely not enough. However, since Guran joined Southampton, Davis has been facing superstar opponents like Guran every day in training. It would be strange if he didn't make progress. In today's game, Tottenham's head coach Redknapp still put out his 442 formation that has never changed for thousands of years. It is called 442, but in fact it is just the position formation before the whistle blows. When it really starts, 442 is ever changing and free. If Southampton gives Guran 100% freedom and Guran is a free man who can play in any position, then all 10 players of Tottenham are treated like Guran. All 10 players are 100% free and can cross positions at will. When the defender is excited, he can directly insert the forward position to take the ball and shoot. The forward can return to the midfield to steal. The midfielder can play as a defender. The left can be switched to the right, and the right can be switched to the left, whatever is appropriate. Of course, the goalkeeper is still the goalkeeper. If the goalkeeper also plays 100% freely and runs out to be a striker, then Tottenham will not have to play. Moreover, Tottenham's free tactics actually have a very high threshold. The threshold of Tottenham lies in the selection of players. Players who can play freely on the field are basically talented players, and they are basically experienced old players. Old Ray knows them inside and out, and knows their mentality and physical condition before the game, so he dares to let them play like this. This tactic is almost impossible to copy, because few head coaches have the charm and courage of Old Ray, and few teams have such a level. Teams with poor overall level will definitely fail if they learn Old Ray's freestyle tactics. The two forwards in the starting lineup of Tottenham are number 15 Peter Crouch and number 18 Jermaine Defoe. These two forwards are both eccentric. Peter Crouch is nicknamed Galileo and Dazugan. He is 201 centimeters tall and weighs only 68 kilograms, 2011 data, so he looks tall and thin, like a fat monk. Height is Crouch's absolute advantage. With this advantage, Crouch can definitely be called one of the strongest header players of this era. Yes, just one of them, not the strongest. Crouch's headers are weak, which has a lot to do with his weak body and waist and abdomen strength. Crouch's real strength lies in his headers, which is still very strong when he shakes his head. Although he is tall, he may not be able to compete with Ronaldo in headers. However, although Crouch's waist and abdomen strength is not enough, his height is a natural advantage. Even if he is not strong enough, he can still be bluffing if he is long enough. In addition, Crouch is very fast and has strong explosive power. His footwork is not inferior to any center forward, so Crouch's scoring efficiency is very high. Crouch is not essentially a center forward who stands in the air, but a technical forward. Heading is just one of his shooting techniques. Crouch has played for a total of 11 clubs in his career. In the early days, Crouch was in the youth training of Tottenham Hotspur, but because he was as thin as a stick, he was not favored by the head coach at the time to be promoted to the first team. Instead, Crouch was loaned to CLI Holstein in the low-level Swedish league. After playing overseas for a year, Crouch transferred back to Queen's Park Rangers, which was still in the English League One at the time, and later transferred to Portsmouth, then transferred to Aston Villa, then transferred to Norwich, and then transferred to Southampton. Southampton was still a Premier League team at the time. Crouch also made many contributions to Southampton, helping the precarious Southampton team to successfully avoid relegation. Southampton also regarded Crouch as Southampton's star player, but Crouch was a scumbag. He turned around and threw himself into the arms of Liverpool. Then he transferred from Liverpool to Portsmouth, the mortal enemy of Southampton. This was Crouch's second transfer to Portsmouth. This time, Portsmouth had dropped to the English Championship. Crouch helped Portsmouth to successfully advance to the Premier League. Portsmouth also enshrined Crouch in the club's Hall of Fame. Crouch was very moved and vowed to hang up his boots at Portsmouth. The head coach when Crouch transferred to Portsmouth this time was Redknapp. When Redknapp went to Tottenham, Crouch also followed Redknapp to Tottenham. What kind of oaths can be used as food? Southampton club manually gave Crouch a thumbs up. Chapter 503 People always make mistakes. Now, it is the second time that Crouch plays for Tottenham. Of course, the first time can't be counted. After all, he was loaned out without playing any game for Tottenham. After that, the 31-year-old Crouch was not satisfied with being a substitute in Tottenham, so he moved to Stoke City and played until 2018, and then moved to the Premier League Burnley club at the age of 36, and retired from Burnley club. Crouch is also a veritable transfer king, and basically he has moved to mid and lower level teams. Crouch also broke Giggs's record of being the oldest Premier League 100 goal scorer, and became the oldest Premier League 100 goal scorer. Throughout Crouch's entire career, he was basically in the situation of a firefighter. Many weak teams have undergone earth-shaking reversals under the arrival of Crouch. This is why many weak clubs regard Crouch as a Hall of Fame player. Of course, because of playing in small clubs for a long time, this also led to Crouch's world-class level, but he could not be compared with world-class players. The only two honors Crouch won were during his time at Liverpool, one FA Cup and one Community Shield. But Crouch has created too many peak scenes to count. The real weird thing about Crouch is not that he always likes to transfer to lower level teams, but his private life. Logically speaking, with Crouch's worth, what kind of girlfriend can he find? But Crouch fell in love with the gold digger Abby Clancy. Abby Clancy was already famous in the bar at the age of 16, and she often took drugs, but Crouch just loved her. Even when Abby Clancy took advantage of Crouch's participation in the 2006 World Cup to check in with her ex-boyfriend and go to the bar to party, which was exposed by the media, Crouch still chose to forgive Abby Clancy. Crouch said, "People always make mistakes." Then, in 2010, Crouch was exposed by the media. During the Spanish game, Crouch spent £900 to call a 19-year-old girl named Monica and stop the car on the main road before reaching the hotel. He started vibrating in the car. Later, he went to the hotel and scored twice, a hat trick. Abby Clancy said that people always make mistakes. This is not because Abby Clancy has a conscience, but mainly because Abby Clancy's fame is completely dependent on Crouch. Without Crouch, she is nothing, so Abby Clancy is very clear about her position. Besides, Crouch was only exposed for this matter, and there are many things that have not been exposed. People like Runa's wife, a decent and kind person, can tolerate it, so what can Abby, with her background, not tolerate it? But no matter what, Crouch and Abby are really a pair. Another striker, Jermaine Defoe, is also a big weirdo. Jermaine Defoe is 28 years old this year. He has been selected for the England national team 44 times and scored 12 goals. He is also a very strong shooter. Defoe is 170 centimeters tall and weighs 66 kilograms. He is a small, fast and agile forward with good technical skills. He has very good awareness, runs without the ball very suddenly and flexibly, has excellent shooting skills and abundant physical strength. Although he is not confrontational enough and his headers are also poor, with Crouch there, he does not need to head the ball at all. Defoe's biggest feature is that he starts very suddenly and penetrates very quickly. He can often play one-on-one single blade scenes. Moreover, Defoe's shooting skills are very high, and his scoring rate is naturally very high. He is a typical assassin player. Defoe was born in London. When he was a child, he played football for the amateur team SYNOPSIS in the Sunday League of the Youth Amateur League. Don't underestimate this amateur team in the Youth League. This team is a star-making machine. Stars such as Bowyer, Terry, Ashley Cole, Ledley King, etc. have all been tempered in this amateur youth team SYNOPSIS. Defoe was spotted by Charlton attendants at the age of 14 and was sent to the National Football School in the name of Charlton Attendance Club. However, 2 years later, Defoe signed with the Hammers West Ham United, which directly angered Charlton fans. But at that time, no one called Defoe a little traitor. Defoe joined the West Ham United U19 team, where he met his mentor Redknapp, and benefited a lot from Redknapp's guidance. Redknapp also admired Defoe's ability very much. Before Redknapp left, Defoe was also promoted to the first team. After Redknapp left, West Ham United's performance began to decline rapidly, and Defoe did not get many opportunities to play. At the end of the 02-03 season, Defoe contributed 11 goals to West Ham United as a substitute, but still could not change the fate of West Ham United's relegation. Within 24 hours of West Ham United's relegation, the little traitor Defoe quickly submitted a transfer application and transferred to Tottenham, which was in the middle and lower reaches of the Premier League at the time, for £7 million. This attitude annoyed the fans of the Hammers, so every time Defoe returned to West Ham's home ground as a guest, he would hear the mocking song "You Are Just a Short Paul Ince." And Paul Ince is the first black captain in the history of the England national team, and also the most hated traitor in the hearts of West Ham United fans. The first team Paul Ince played for was West Ham United. Starting in 1986, Paul Ince played for West Ham United for 4 consecutive seasons. With his excellent skills, broad vision and superb organizational ability, he became the absolute core of West Ham United, and was also determined by West Ham United club as not for sale. However, Paul Ince's outstanding performance attracted the attention of the Premier League giants Manchester United, and Manchester United offered an extremely attractive contract to the young Paul Ince. West Ham United certainly didn't want to sell Paul Ince. Everyone in the club knew that only by keeping Paul Ince could the team have hope. However, Paulins did not renew his contract with West Ham United, but reached a transfer agreement with Manchester City in private, and before the contract with West Ham United expired, he couldn't wait to put on Manchester United's jersey, to show it to reporters. This immediately caused strong dissatisfaction among the Hammers fans, and the fans began to boo Paulins. And Paulins's response was direct enough, that is, during the game for West Ham United, he stood in the middle of the court with his hands in his pockets and played passively. In the end, Paulins transferred to Manchester United as a free agent after the contract ended, and witnessed the rise of the Manchester United dynasty. Paulins's free transfer also broke the heart of West Ham United, and he didn't get a penny. To this day, West Ham United and the fans of the Hammers cannot forgive Paulins. Of course, Defo was also considered a Paulins-style little traitor by Hammers fans. Chapter 504, Mascherano on the tip of the tongue. Between the 2 points, Bale is the shortest. After Defo came to Tottenham, he had a smooth first year. Not only did he score in the first game, he also joined the England national team and scored in the national team. But from the third season, Defo gradually lost his main position and became a substitute for Little Keane, Robbie Keane and Aaron Bent. So, in the fourth season of Tottenham, Defo transferred to the team where his old mentor, Old Ray, was, Portsmouth. In Portsmouth, no, it should be said that under Old Ray, Defo was like a fish in water. Old Ray knew Defo well and trusted him very much. The combination of the two also made Portsmouth advance all the way. Not only did they stay in the league, but they also brought Portsmouth to the upper middle of the Premier League for a time. This was also the best period for Portsmouth. Later, Old Ray went to Tottenham, and Defo immediately submitted a transfer application and went to Tottenham to follow Old Ray. Portsmouth fans felt a backstab. Then soon, Crouch also left Portsmouth the following year and backstabbed Portsmouth again. Portsmouth never recovered from this and fell all the way to the English Championship. The real strange thing about Defo was not that he returned to Tottenham, nor that he offended the two clubs he worked for, but an incident that happened when he played for Tottenham in 2006. In the 9th round of the Premier League on October 22, 2006, when Tottenham played against West Ham United at home, Mascherano, who was a player of West Ham United at the time, was bitten hard by West Ham United's little traitor Defo while defending. Mascherano on the tip of the tongue is much earlier than Chiellini on the tip of the tongue. In 2006, the Gourmet Suarez had just landed in Europe and had not yet entered Ajax, but was playing for Groningen in the Eredivisie. The first time Suarez bit someone was in 2010, when he was in Ajax, which was 4 years later than Defo. Therefore, Defo is the ancestor of football gourmets. Crouch and Defo are also old partners in the forward line of this Tottenham team. They seem to be a combination of one tall and one fast, but in fact, they are a combination of one fast and one faster. Tottenham's starting left midfielder is number 3, Gareth Bale, the former Southampton hope, Wales's talented star, nicknamed Monkey King, real golfer, Bale shortest between 2 points, flounder farming professional. Gareth Bale is 21 years old, 185 centimeters tall and weighs 81 kilograms. Because he looks like the Monkey King in Journey to the West, and both are extremely fast and can save people from danger, he is called the Monkey King by domestic fans. Later, Bale joined Real Madrid and played commercial games in China. He learned that the fans called him the Monkey King. After figuring out the meaning of this nickname, Bale was very happy. Bale said that this was much better than his teammates calling him Monkey. Bale even showed a heart to the domestic fans. As for the shortest nickname of Bale between the 2 points, it is entirely due to Bale's famous skills, overtaking on the outside lane, and overtaking on the curve, which is also the capital for him to be transformed from a fullback to a winger by Old Ray. As for the real golfer, it means that Bale really loves playing golf. This is different from another golfer, Bellamy. Bellamy likes to hit his teammates with a golf club and celebrate with a swing after scoring the goal the next day, while Bale really loves playing golf. Playing football is just a profession, and golf is Bale's true love. Bale bought a large golf course in his own home in Wales. Moreover, when Bale played for Real Madrid, he felt that he had achieved success and fame, and he did not train well. He confronted the coach in various ways and was excluded in various ways in the team. Bale spent a lot of time and energy on playing golf. It was because of playing golf that Bale's soleus muscle was always injured. Real Madrid injured the soleus muscle 9 times in 4 years. This is not because Bale's body is not strong enough or the confrontation in La Liga is stronger than that in the Premier League. It is really just that Bale is too addicted to playing golf. Golf looks like a leisure sport, and it is very relaxing to play, but when swinging, the whole body muscles need to burst out strength. The soleus muscle is distributed on the left and right calves. It refers to the flat calf muscle below the gastrocnemius muscle. It starts from the back of the upper end of the tibia and fibula. Because it looks like a soleus, it is called the soleus muscle. It is called the triceps suri together with the gastrocnemius muscle. The soleus muscle is inserted horizontally under the gastrocnemius muscle behind the fibula and tibia, and all the way to the inner side of the calf. To put it bluntly, the soleus muscle is a muscle on the back of the calf, just on the calf. It belongs to the superficial layer of the muscle, and is innervated by the tibial nerve. It is a muscle that is easily injured in football games. When Bale was injured for the first time in Real Madrid, he injured his soleus muscle. Because of this injury, Bale got a month of rest. At first, Bale could lie in bed obediently according to the doctor's instructions, but after lying for a few days, Bale was itchy and went to play golf with the injury. As a result, Bale's soleus muscle has never healed. Then, the second soleus injury, the second vacation to play golf, the third soleus injury, the third vacation to play golf, until the 9th time. Therefore, Bale has an unfriendly nickname called Flatfish Farming Professional. By the 9th time, Bale's relationship with Real Madrid had reached a completely irreconcilable state, and then he was loaned back to Tottenham. Of course, this is all later. At this time, Bale has just been transformed by Aldre into a left forward/left winger, and Real Madrid has just started to pay attention to him. Real Madrid has not yet regarded him as a successor to Cristiano Ronaldo. In fact, when Real Madrid signed Bale, on the one hand, it was because Bale did have the strength to play as a main player in Real Madrid, and on the other hand, it was also out of consideration to suppress Ronaldo, who was in his heyday. Real Madrid wanted to let Ronaldo know that he was not the irreplaceable person. But in fact, Bale will never be comparable to Ronaldo. Although Bale is extremely fast, has excellent dribbling skills, is good at crossing and cutting inside, and is good at forcibly breaking through opponents at high speed, to be honest, Bale is really a player whose fame is greater than his strength. There are many players in the football world whose strength is greater than their fame, and whose strength is greater than their value, but Bale's fame is greater than his strength, and his fame is greater than his value. It was not obvious when he was in Tottenham, but it was very obvious after he came to Real Madrid. Although Bale also had outstanding performances in key games, more often than not, Bale's performance cannot be said to be bad, but it is always a little bit worse, which does not match his value and treatment. Real Madrid introduced Bale mainly to suppress Ronaldo's value through the young Bale, but in fact, at critical moments, Real Madrid can only rely on Ronaldo. In the BBC era with Bale, Benzema and Ronaldo, Bale was once promoted to the core of the team, but was soon reversed by Ronaldo, who was 4 years older than him. Ronaldo was still the most dazzling world superstar and irreplaceable. When Ronaldo left Real Madrid, Bale once said proudly that the man was finally gone, and now the rest of us are more like a whole. As a result, even if Ronaldo left Real Madrid, Ronaldo's afterglow was still the most dazzling figure in Real Madrid at that time. Bale, the official successor of Cristiano Ronaldo, was not able to carry the banner of successor. Instead, he was not self-disciplined, did not participate in training, indulged in golf every day, and even injured his soleus muscle repeatedly. In terms of talent, Bale is definitely a genius, and can even become a world-class superstar, but Bale's willfulness and lack of self-discipline ruined the second half of his career. So, there are many football geniuses in the world, but there are only a few real football superstars. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 505, the most terrifying devilish wingers in the entire Premier League. In addition to his huge contribution to Tottenham on the field, Bale also made a huge contribution when he transferred to Real Madrid, which made Tottenham become a big player. In September 2013, Bale transferred to Real Madrid, the Galactico, for £85.3 million, equivalent to €100 million, the highest price at the time. Real Madrid is a very unique club, and this characteristic is not only in Real Madrid's achievements and honors. Real Madrid likes to buy world-class stars to form a Galactico, and all players want the best, even the substitutes want the best, but no world-class big-name players can surpass Real Madrid. In Real Madrid, the dragon must coil, and the tiger must lie down, and no player can be bigger than the club. This is why Real Madrid has to suppress Ronaldo from within, and keep looking for Ronaldo's replacement, even though Ronaldo is so strong. In Real Madrid's view, if Ronaldo is allowed to dominate alone, then when Ronaldo gets old, he will definitely not be willing to give up the core position, and will definitely be unhappy with the club, and the club's achievements will definitely be damaged. Therefore, even though Ronaldo is already a peerless double pride, Real Madrid still deliberately suppresses Ronaldo. Because Real Madrid firmly believes that there are no players who last for 100 years, but only clubs that last for 100 years. Real Madrid has a rule that all players over 30 years old, regardless of their status, can only sign contracts every year, as long as they are over 30 years old. It is impossible to retire in Real Madrid. Of course, there are exceptions, such as Bale, the replacement of Ronaldo, that Real Madrid bought for €100 million. Before Ronaldo started to retire, Bale had already lived a retirement life in Real Madrid. Before Ronaldo retired, Bale had already retired and started playing professional golf. But no matter what, the wealthy Real Madrid gave Tottenham a transfer fee of €100 million. In 2013, prices were not so high, and money was not so depreciated. €100 million was really very much. Before A took over, Tottenham Club had always been in the middle and lower levels of the Premier League. After A took over, it began to enter the middle and upper reaches of the Premier League, and embarked on the road of revival of the White Lily. However, the real revival began with the receipt of €100 million. Tottenham used the €100 million to supplement the club's application funds, and improve the club's training facilities, especially the training facilities for the youth team. The direct beneficiary of this improvement is Harry Kane, the future legendary captain of Tottenham. In addition, Tottenham also signed 7 powerful players: Paulinho, Eriksen, Soldado, Chadli, Capao, Zirisis and Lamela, which greatly improved Tottenham's overall strength. 1 year later, in 2015, Tottenham used €30 million of this money to sign Son Heung-min of the Bundesliga Leverkusen team. So far, Tottenham's road to revival has become wider and wider. Of course, it was also from this time that the players' values were inflated. What? Bale was sold for €100 million, but my golden boy Torres was only sold for €58 million. More money. What? Torres, who doesn't score, can be sold for €58 million, so my Suarez must be increased to €86 million. What? Suarez, who bit someone, can still ask for €86 million. Then my beloved Pogba must ask for €105 million. What? Pogba can ask for €105 million. Then it is normal for my Neymar to ask for €222 million, right? Such a price also made the old stars in the past stunned. They thought that £10 or £20 million was already a sky-high transfer price, but they didn't expect the price pressure to get more and more fierce. If they had known earlier, they would have been born a few years later. In other words, Bale's fame and price are indeed greater than his strength, but Bale's true strength is definitely one of the strongest wingers of this era. His speed and burst, especially his ability to overtake directly from the backcourt, were indeed almost unmatched in his peak period from 2012 to 2015. The right midfielder of the Tottenham team is Aaron Lennon, the magic boy and electric mouse number 7. Aaron Lennon is the most promising super winger of this era, no one else. In 2011 to 2012, even Bale, who was on the same team, was not as famous as Lennon, and his expectations were higher. Lennon, now 23 years old, is only 169 centimeters tall and weighs only 66 kilograms, but he is super fast. Let's put it this way, when Lennon was a child, he was not trained to play football, but to be a 100-meter track and field athlete. In 2003, Lennon started his football career at Leeds United, and once became the youngest player to appear in the Premier League at the age of 16 years and 129 days. He and Milner were also called the twin stars of Leeds United. Even David O'Leary, the head coach of Leeds United at the time, praised Lennon many times in front of the media, saying that Lennon was a future superstar with more prospects than Rooney. In 2005, Leeds United had a financial crisis and had to reluctantly sell Lennon to Tottenham. Lennon is short and has poor confrontation, but his speed and sprint are too strong, and he can often use his speed to break through the opponent's defense line into a sieve. Compared with Bale, who is used to relying on physical strength, Lennon's breakthrough method is more technical. Although both of them have absolute speed advantages, Lennon's breakthrough is mixed with more changes of direction and feints. More importantly, Lennon also has excellent cross-ball footwork. Lennon's only shortcoming on the field is that his physical confrontation is too poor. Once he is caught up, or his breakthrough path is discovered and intercepted, he will not be able to form a threatening cut-in. But in any case, in Tottenham during this period, Lennon and Bale are definitely the most terrifying devil wings in the Premier League. It stands to reason that a player like Lennon should be a world-class player, but in fact Lennon's speed has already declined greatly in 2015. Speed-type players have a very serious flaw, that is, once injured, their advantages will be greatly reduced. In addition, Lennon himself has poor confrontation, which also means that his upper limit will not be too high. At this point, Lennon is not comparable to Rooney at all. In 2015, Lennon's aura of a wonder boy was gone. Tottenham's new head coach Pochettino rarely gave Lennon a chance to play, and Lennon fell into depression for a long time. Later, Lennon moved to other clubs, and his depression gradually improved, but his strength and reputation were far less than when he was in Tottenham. However, in the current season, Lennon is definitely the fastest winger in the Premier League. The double fast cooperation between Lennon and Bale is also a symbol of Tottenham's melon cutting and vegetable cutting attack. In today's League Cup final, Southampton's two defensive midfielders must limit Bale and Lennon, the strongest magic wingers in the Premier League. Otherwise, Southampton's left and right sides will be broken into sieves. Chapter 506, Big Ibrahimovic, let's give it a try. The different lives of the two little Cruyffs. Next, Tottenham's two midfielders are number 11 Rafael van der Vaart and number 14 Luka Modric. Just hearing the names of these two players can make people gasp uncontrollably. Van der Vaart, 28 years old, was bought by Tottenham from Real Madrid in 2009 for $8 million. Real Madrid only sold Van der Vaart, the first golden boy in Europe, known as the Dutch star and Cruyff Jr., for $8 million, but a few years later spent €100 million to buy Bale. What else could this operation be, if not to suppress Ronaldo? Van der Vaart was plagued by injuries at the time, and Real Madrid already had Kaká and Ronaldo, so Van der Vaart had been marginalized, so it was very normal for Van der Vaart to be cleaned up by Real Madrid. Van der Vaart reached his peak when he debuted. Van der Vaart started to learn to play football in a professional football school at the age of 4. In 1993, he joined the Ajax youth team. In 2000, when he was only 16 years old, Van der Vaart was promoted to the first team. At the age of 17, he played for Ajax. Because of his amazing performance and superb footwork, he was hailed as a little Beckham and a little Cruyff. In 2003, Van der Vaart became the first winner of the European Golden Boy Award. When Van der Vaart played for Ajax, it was the peak period of his life. His playing style was completely in line with Ajax's tactics. His left-footed free kicks and scorpion tail shots were definitely world-class classics. Of course, when mentioning Van der Vaart during the Ajax period, we have to mention another star who was even more arrogant than Van der Vaart, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Big Ibrahimovic was very crazy, which made the Dutch gang dislike him. Once, Van der Vaart said to Ibrahimovic, "You stepped on my foot," and Ibrahimovic said, "I didn't step on your foot." Van der Vaart said, "Just say it again, I'll try it." Ibrahimovic said, "Just try it." Van der Vaart said, "I'll break your legs." Then, Van der Vaart was screwed. Van der Vaart said, "There's no place for him in this team, no place for me." So, after 2004, Van der Vaart moved to Hamburg. Most of Ajax's players have the attribute of positional diversity, and Van der Vaart is no exception. Van der Vaart started out as a midfielder, then was transformed into a striker, and then played back as a midfielder in Real Madrid. After going to Tottenham, Ray reactivated Van der Vaart's attribute of a free man in the front court. Van der Vaart can switch between forward, winger, attacking midfielder, central midfielder, and shadow forward at will. Van der Vaart can even play as a winger and full back. Van der Vaart also ushered in the second spring of his career in Ray's hands. Van der Vaart has superb skills, his passing is very imaginative and lethal, and his shooting is as good as his passing, especially the long-range shot before the top of the arc is like a guided missile. In addition, Van der Vaart, who is only 176 centimeters tall, not only has excellent shooting ability at his feet, but also has a very strong heading ability. His sense of smell in the penalty area is world class. Van der Vaart's breakthrough on the court is also very sharp, his deep pass is very penetrating, and his left-footed free kick is also world class. The only pity is that Van der Vaart's meniscus injury is too serious. Now at the age of 28, he can only play 60% to 70% of his strength. When he was 20 years old, Van der Vaart is a world-class superstar who has been delayed by injuries. This is fate. Therefore, on the court, Van der Vaart's biggest problem is confrontation. Van der Vaart's physique is very easy to get injured. However, at Tottenham, Van der Vaart is also protected by his side. This support is the future Golden Ball winner, the Magic Flute, Luka Modric. Modric's strength is absolutely world class. Even though he is only 25 years old and unknown in Tottenham, head coach Ray can recognize Modric's core role in the team at a glance. If Van der Vaart is the commander in the front court, then Modric is the core of the team. Tottenham's freestyle formation actually has no defensive midfielder. When the opponent attacks, they basically all withdraw to defend. For Tottenham, the transition between offense and defense is a very critical link, and this most critical link, which is almost the most inconspicuous link, is undertaken by Modric. To put it more bluntly, without Modric, Ray's free tactics would be a mess. Compared with Van der Vaart, Modric is not the kind of player who has a genius aura since childhood. Even because of the Yugoslav war, Modric has not had enough food since childhood, resulting in a short stature in his youth, only growing to 171 centimeters. Modric almost gave up football because of his height and weight. Fortunately, in 2001, Modric's talent was spotted by Croatia's top club Dinamo Zagreb, and Modric's family life finally began to improve. The talented Modric had been playing football in Croatia quietly until he met his agent, the beautiful Bosniak, who later became Modric's wife. Bosniak's biggest influence on Modric was to move Modric to the Premier League Tottenham Hotspur team, and then to Real Madrid. Compared with Van der Vaart, Modric's youth was unfortunate, but from a career perspective, Modric is many times better than Van der Vaart. Modric and Van der Vaart actually have many similarities in technology, but first of all, Modric's character is very humble, not like Van der Vaart who is arrogant, and not like Van der Vaart who said you stepped on my foot, nor is he as prone to injury as Van der Vaart, and he is more confrontational. Van der Vaart's idol is Cruyff. When he debuted, he was called Little Cruyff. His dream was to join Barcelona. Modric's idol is also Cruyff. When he debuted, he was also called Little Cruyff. His dream was to join Barcelona. Although they both joined Real Madrid, Modric's foot skills are very balanced, his style of play is elegant, and his running position during the transition between offense and defense is also excellent. Among the offensive organizers, his defense is also excellent. Modric seems to be thin and short, but in fact he has strong confrontation ability, and violent long-range shooting is his forte. Moreover, Modric has very abundant physical energy, and he is completely immortal. He can sprint repeatedly at high speed. Modric's characteristics are delicate skills and strong midfield organization ability. Modric is very selfless on the court. Whatever the head coach arranges him to do, he can always do it very well. Modric's nickname is Modric. Many domestic fans will think that this nickname is a homophonic in China, but it is not. The title of Modric was first given by Real Madrid fans and Spanish media. This means that Modric can control the tempo of the game like the magic flute in the fairy tale. Modric is a true midfield master. Chapter 507. Stay loyal to one team for life. That's fate. Tottenham's starting left back is player number 32, Benoit Asso Hector from Cameroon. Hector is 26 years old. Before he took over Tottenham, he was almost unknown. He is 180 centimeters tall and weighs 74 kilograms. He is very fast, but has poor confrontation and poor headers. So when he first came to Tottenham, he was always a substitute for Young Pio. Later, Bale came, and Hector had no chance to play as a left back, until Ray came to Tottenham in the 2009 season. Ray discovered Hector's ability and made Hector the main candidate for the left back, and the change was that Bale was pushed to the left winger position. Such a drastic change not only revitalized Hector, but also revitalized Bale. When other Premier League teams were worried about the selection of left backs, Tottenham's two left backs could appear on the field together, and they cooperated well, often performing exciting scenes of overlapping each other. However, because of his lack of physical confrontation, injuries have always been Hector's nightmare, and also limited Hector's upper limit. But in general, Hector is still good, with delicate footwork, fast speed, active forward assists, and a good cross. Tottenham's starting right back is player number 22, veteran George Joluka from Croatia. George Joluka is 24 years old, 192 centimeters tall, 88 kilograms in weight, and comes from the same Croatian club as Modric. However, unlike Modric, George Joluka has never played for Dinamo Zagreb, but with his excellent physical condition, he landed in the Premier League Manchester City early, and then transferred from Manchester City to Tottenham. Joluka is an all-around backcourt player. Although he is tall and heavy, Joluka's advantage is definitely not just defensive confrontation. He has a slender body and is very flexible. At the same time, he has good footwork and positional sense. Especially when it comes to corner kicks, Joluka can play his strong advantage in the air and defend or attack with headers. Joluka can not only play as a fullback, but also as a central defender and defensive midfielder. He also has a good backcourt cross when attacking. His only shortcoming on the court is that he is too slow, not explosive enough, and his physical fitness is slightly worse. The two central defenders in Tottenham's starting lineup are number 20 Michael Dawson and number 26 captain Ledley King. Michael Dawson is 27 years old, 192 centimeters tall, weighs 84 kilograms, has fierce steals, strong confrontation, and his header level is definitely one of the best in the Premier League. What Michael Dawson is most praised for is his level of commitment in the game. Although Tottenham, coached by Ray, uses free tactics, Michael Dawson rarely makes forward runs. He stands firmly in his position in the backline and is a reassuring backfield gate for Tottenham. Of course, his speed is slower than that of Joluka. This is also the reason why he does not participate in the attack, for fear that he will not be able to run back after rushing up. As for another defender, Ledley King, his reputation is much stronger than Michael Dawson. Ledley King is the White Lily legend who is loyal to one team all his life. If you are a Tottenham fan, you may not know who Bale is, you may not know who Kane is, you may not know who Son Heung-min is, but you must not know who Ledley King is. Ledley King joined the Tottenham youth training team at a very young age, and then was promoted to the first team with his outstanding performance in the backline. Since then, Ledley King has never joined any other team. Since playing for Tottenham's first team in 1999, Ledley King has played 268 games for Tottenham and scored 10 goals by the 2011-12 season. By July 2012, Ledley King had played for Tottenham for 17 years and retired from his favorite club due to injury. After that, Ledley King became an ambassador of the club, helping the club deal with some matters of the team players. In 2020, Ledley King returned to Tottenham Hotspur and became the assistant coach of Tottenham Hotspur. Ledley King is 189 centimeters tall and weighs 88 kilograms. He is a central defender with strong confrontation, excellent positional sense, top-notch defensive ability and a cool head. Ledley King mainly plays as a central defender, but can also play as a defensive midfielder. However, in race-free tactical system, there is basically no concept of a defensive midfielder. The entire Tottenham team is in an offensive mode of cutting melons and vegetables, and there is no need for a defensive midfielder. In fact, when Ledley King debuted, he was still very fast, even on par with Henry, the King of Highbury. Henry once commented on Ledley King, saying that Ledley King was the only Premier League defender who could intercept the ball from under his feet without fouling. Considering Henry's status in the Premier League, this evaluation is extremely high. Unfortunately, Ledley King was born at the wrong time. When Ledley King was not seriously injured and was at the peak of his career, the overall ability of Tottenham was not good at that time. When Tottenham began to embark on the road of revival, the loyal soul Ledley King was unable to travel with Bebe because of his old age and knee injury. Ledley King's knee injury occurred when he was 19 years old and in his first starting game in his career. Just 30 seconds into the game, Ledley King collided with the opposing player. Ledley King felt pain in his knee at the time, but Ledley King was too young at the time, and he had been on the bench for more than half a year in the Tottenham first team. It was not easy for him to get his first chance to start. If he asked to be replaced after 30 seconds on the court, not to mention the head coach would frown, he himself would not forgive his cowardice. As a result, Ledley King gritted his teeth and played the whole game, but the price was that he was in so much pain that he couldn't stand up just after the game. He was eventually sent to the hospital for surgery, recovered for 6 weeks, and picked up a regular rotation position. The biggest impact was not the loss of the rotation position at the time, but the knee injury this time, which affected his life and prevented him from becoming a world-class central defender. So, this is also fate. Finally, the starting goalkeeper of the Tottenham team was number 1, 30-year-old Brazilian Lilia Gomez. Gomez is 190 centimeters tall and weighs 87 kilograms. He has quick reactions and is very strong in one-on-one situations. He is a very nervous goalkeeper. Gomez had 2 highlights in his career. One was when he was in the Eredivisie PSV Eindhoven team. He saved 2 consecutive penalties and helped PSV Eindhoven advance to the Champions League semi-finals. Another time was when he was in Tottenham in 2010. He saved 2 consecutive penalties from Darren Bent, the former Tottenham striker. In short, this Tottenham team has a very strong lineup, especially in terms of offense. It is definitely a chopped melon and vegetable attack. It depends on whether Southampton's double defensive midfielder defense can withstand Tottenham's chopped melon and vegetable. At this time, the referee blew the whistle, and the League Cup final officially began. Chapter 508. Guran challenges Modric. Guran challenges Bale. Guran challenges Crouch. As soon as the referee blew the whistle, Crouch knocked the ball back to Van der Vaart. Van der Vaart immediately dribbled the ball to Southampton's half. Lallana and Lambert in the front row immediately formed a double team and took the initiative to press Van der Vaart. Van der Vaart did not entangle with Lallana and Lambert, but cleverly knocked the ball to Modric, who was protecting him while running. After Modric got the ball, he immediately accelerated. Tottenham's 2 magic wings, Bale and Lennon, also followed and inserted into Southampton's penalty area. The entire Tottenham team's offensive speed is extremely fast, and the running positions are extremely varied. Almost all the players in the front court are forwards. Southampton's formation shrank to the edge of their own penalty area and defended cautiously. But Guran directly pushed out and confronted Modric head-on. Modric had also watched Guran's short video. Seeing Guran rushing up, Modric naturally did not dare to neglect it. He immediately stopped and stepped on the ball, then changed his line to pass the opponent. Guran predicted Modric's intention to pass the opponent in advance and immediately followed with a quick stop, blocking the route Modric wanted to break through. Modric quickly changed his line in the opposite direction and broke through with the ball. Guran did not even pause and directly blocked Modric's body and squeezed hard. Modric felt like he was being pushed by a heavy bulldozer, and he could not control his center of gravity at all. Although Modric looked thin, he was actually very strong in confrontation and had a stronger ability to respond. However, in front of the heavy bulldozer Guran, Modric had no room for resistance at all and was squeezed from the middle to the right by Guran. Schneiderlin and Lambert also press Modric at the same time. In this case, Modric had no way to protect the ball, so he could only force his foot and kicked it to the unmanned area in front. According to the cooperation of the Tottenham team in training, at this time, Bale should be able to speed up and catch up with the ball and then cut inside to pass. Sure enough, Bale rushed towards the football like a flash of lightning. But just when Bale was about to touch the football, the defensive midfielder Mikel appeared in time and made a fierce side tackle on the rolling football. Bale was shocked and quickly slowed down. Mikel shoveled the ball out of the sideline without any scruples. The first wave of attack of the Tottenham team was destroyed by Southampton's double defensive midfielders. The offensive style of the Tottenham team is to chop melons and vegetables, but this knife was obviously not cut well. It's not Modric's fault that he didn't pass the ball. It can only be said that Southampton's practice of putting the defensive midfielder in front is really in place. Modric is the metronome of Tottenham's chopping melons and vegetables, so as long as Modric is restricted, Tottenham's offensive rhythm will be greatly reduced. Of course, it's useless to just restrict Modric. After all, Tottenham has too many points to explode. Southampton's defensive players retreated into the penalty area. Tottenham's left back Hector threw the ball out of bounds with great force. Bale kicked the ball out while being defended by 3 people and passed it to Van der Vaart, who came up to assist. Van der Vaart turned and accelerated immediately after getting the ball. Mikel immediately kept a close eye on Van der Vaart while Guran continued to defend Modric, who was running without the ball. Van der Vaart was one-on-one with Mikel. Van der Vaart's physical strength was obviously not as good as Mikel's. Seeing that Mikel was about to suppress Van der Vaart and steal the ball, Van der Vaart suddenly made a fake move and dodged. Relying on his dribbling skills, he easily shook Mikel off. Mikel's reaction was also very fast. He immediately reached out to pull Van der Vaart's arm. Strictly speaking, this was a foul, but Mikel's pulling was so fast that the referee did not react. Van der Vaart saw that he was about to lose his balance, and then he used his left foot to pick the ball over JD, who was rushing up to defend. There was a gap behind JD. This gap is not an opportunity for ordinary teams, but for Tottenham, which has Bale, it is a huge opportunity. Bale, who had been prepared for a long time, quickly overtook the outside lane and cut in diagonally. Richardson, who was responsible for defending Bale, chased and intercepted desperately, but he couldn't catch up at all. Bale almost instantly cut into Southampton's penalty area, as if he was in a no man's land. Bale was about to get the ball and shoot. At this moment, another more exaggerated lightning overtook from farther outside the penalty area, and a deadly sliding tackle. Bale was not afraid, because in the penalty area, even if he was really tackled, at least he could earn a red card and a penalty. Both of them accelerated crazily at the last moment. Bang! Guran's legs were long, and he took the lead in shoveling the football half a beat, and then went to shovel out of the baseline. And Bale's sneakers kicked Guran's shin guards. Bale lay on the ground in pain, covering his toes and rolling, and Guran also lay on the grass and grinned. The fans at the scene couldn't help but exclaimed. Less than 2 minutes into the game, the outside overtakers of the two teams collided. Obviously, Guran had a longer distance and a faster speed. However, the Saints fans had no mood to celebrate. Everyone was worried about Guran's injury. This is the League Cup final. Guran is the absolute core of Southampton. If Guran is injured and leaves the field, then Southampton will not have to watch this game anymore. The referee urgently summoned the team doctors of both sides to enter the field. Mayfu and another team doctor ran to Guran at the speed of a 100-meter sprint and carefully pulled off Guran's socks. The shin guard had cracked, but fortunately, with the protection of the shin guard, plus Guran's physique and the attributes of the Tin Man, Guran's calf was only slightly red and swollen, and there was no serious problem. Mayfu pinched Guran's calf, did a detailed bone examination, and then confirmed that there was no bone injury. Maeve sprayed some painkillers on Guran's calf, then replaced his shin guards, packed up his things, and ran off the field. Bale on the other side seemed to be more seriously injured than Guran. He still sat on the ground and let the Tottenham team doctor help him treat his toe. Guran endured the pain in his calf and limped to Bale. Hey, Gareth, are you okay? Bale looked up helplessly and smiled. "It's not a big problem, but I should have been the one to comfort you. But I didn't expect you to be better than me. But anyway, thank you." Duran smiled and said, "You're welcome. Well, please leave the field for treatment, and don't delay the game." Bale. The referee thought it made sense and immediately asked Bale to go to the sidelines for treatment. Bale could only hop on one foot and leave the field for treatment. The game continued. Tottenham got a corner kick. Although Tottenham had only 10 people on the field, Tottenham had no shortage of attacking points in terms of attacking corner kicks. Van der Vaart fired a very fast arc ball from the left, and Crouch jumped high to meet the ball, ready to bomb from a high trajectory. Duran, with his calf still in pain, caught Crouch and jumped up. Crouch, who was like a telephone pole, had an unstable center of gravity in the aerial confrontation. Although his head hit the ball, he couldn't exert any force at all. The high orbit bombing was more like a header pass. Davis saw the right time and jumped high, confiscating the ball in his arms. Chapter 509. Tottenham Hotspurs are like slicing melons and vegetables. Southampton gives a big gift. After Davis hugged the ball, he did not throw it hard at the first time. Because Southampton's position was very bad at this time, there was no support in the front court, especially the Corguran was still in the small penalty area, surrounded by Tottenham players. Davis immediately stabilized the rhythm. Tottenham quickly returned to defense. Southampton also breathed a sigh of relief, relying on the backcourt to waste time and look for opportunities. It is impossible to play against a strong team like Tottenham. Tottenham has a pair of the strongest magic wings in the Premier League, Van der Vaart, Modric and two extremely fast forwards. If Southampton plays against Tottenham, they will be beaten into pieces in minutes. After receiving treatment, Bale raised his hand to signal the referee, and then ran back to the court quickly. And Guran's calf pain has subsided without any hindrance. If it were other players, the pain in the calf would definitely affect their condition, but for Guran, it was completely no problem. The two sides are back on the same starting line again. Although Southampton's defense was very attentive, Tottenham's ability to cut melons and vegetables was soon revealed. Tottenham's offensive rhythm was very fast. Basically, 2 or 3 kicks plus 2 or 3 sprints could deliver the ball to Southampton's penalty area. Southampton's situation was very passive for a while. Duran, as the firefighting captain, sprinted back and forth in the front and back positions to assist in defense. This game was a great test for Southampton's defense, but most of the tests were borne by Duran. Another part of the test was borne by Mikel. Fortunately, Southampton urgently loaned Mikel, otherwise it would be impossible to withstand this game relying on Guran sprinting back and forth to defend. As a Chelsea player, Mikel was born in a state of chicken blood when he saw Tottenham. Chelsea, his own team, missed the opportunity to fight with Tottenham in the League Cup, but Mikel had the opportunity to vent for Chelsea. Mikel's defensive actions were big and his tackles were often decisive. At the beginning of the game, Mikel was warned by the referee for his frequent rough actions. But Mikel didn't care at all and continued to do his own thing. In the 9th minute of the game, Tottenham made a series of short passes on the left side of the backcourt. Van der Vaart passed the ball to Bale. Bale ran all the way with the ball and overtook with a scimitar. Southampton's right side defense was immediately turned into a sieve by Bale, and there was no way to stop Bale. Duran had to quickly retreat from the midfield to the penalty area to prevent Bale from cutting in. Bale did not confront Guran head on, but went directly to the bottom and passed the ball back in an inverted triangle. Crouch, who was in the middle of the penalty area, jumped high and headed the ball. Van der Vaart, who was inserted in the back row, made a beautiful sideways hook volley. Davis was busy defending Bale and Crouch. Facing Van der Vaart's shot, Davis was powerless. The football shot into the net. More than 40,000 Tottenham fans at Wembley Stadium cheered wildly. After no less than 10 attacks, Tottenham finally changed the score. The scores on the two big screens were immediately changed to Tottenham 1:0 Southampton. The defenders of Southampton were all depressed. It must be said that Van der Vaart's goal was really brilliant. Van der Vaart was also very happy after scoring. He ran to the sidelines and pointed to the sky with one hand to celebrate. Old Ray Redknapp on the bench of the home team just smiled calmly, as if this goal should have been there a long time ago. On the other side, in the technical area of the visiting team, Coach Adkins clapped his hands vigorously and encouraged the Southampton players loudly. "It's okay. It's okay. Keep going. The game has just begun." The first goal came so quickly that it did damage Southampton's confidence. After the game resumed, Southampton's defense became more cautious. However, Tottenham's competitive state was ignited by Van der Vaart's wonderful goal just now. In the 13th minute of the game, Modric dribbled the ball along the middle. Guran and Lambert stepped forward to intercept. Modric did not dare to confront Guran head-on and immediately slowed down to observe the whole court and prepare to pass the ball. Bale took the opportunity to speed up on his own left side. Modric immediately passed the ball to the left side. Guran predicted Modric's pass in advance and immediately chased Bale. Mikel was closest to Bale, so he took the lead in accelerating to chase Bale. After receiving the ball, Bale kicked forward and then staged a classic scene of overtaking on the curve. Mikel could not limit Bale's speed at all. However, just when Bale was in an empty space and wanted to take the ball and cut in directly, Guran also rushed up at a speed of overtaking, got ahead of Bale, and kicked the ball out of the sideline. Bale's face was full of horror. He accelerated twice on the outside lane and was defeated by Guran both times. The Southampton fans at the scene cheered crazily for Guran. Other Chelsea and Arsenal fans also shouted with excitement. This League Cup final is really full of gold. The direct confrontation between the two overtaking masters is really exciting. At this time, Tottenham quickly sent out the ball, and Van der Vaart inserted it very cleverly and brought the ball into the Southampton penalty area. Mikel and JD failed to close the door, allowing Van der Vaart to break in. Mikel flew to tackle Van der Vaart from behind, but missed. Fortunately, he didn't, otherwise he would have to eat the red dot meal. Southampton's defense line was in a mess. After Van der Vaart broke in, he kicked the ball directly. Font, who was defending in front of the goal, stretched his foot to intercept, but the ball was too powerful and bounced directly on Font's toes and bounced into the goal. The ball went in. Own goal. Less than 15 minutes after the start, Southampton had already lost one goal and gave Tottenham another own goal. The Tottenham fans at the scene were dancing with joy and the lily-white flag was waving wildly. The Southampton fans looked ugly and couldn't bear to watch. Losing 2 goals in 15 minutes, one of which was an own goal, was really hard to accept. Font was also dejected and extremely depressed. His awareness was good, but in such a final competition, such a mistake was almost unforgivable. Captain Davis took the initiative to hug Font and patted Font on the shoulder in a friendly manner. Guran also ran to Font. "Hey, Font, don't worry, Van der Vaart is really strong. If it was me, I would definitely kick that ball into an own goal. You have tried your best. We will kick it back next time." Font looked at Guran gratefully. "Thank you, Gu." The game continued. Chapter 510. Southampton was defeated. Unless there is a miracle, 15 minutes was already very stressful for Southampton. Southampton's defense line almost shrank in its own half, and the 3-line structure was flattened by Tottenham. The more this happened, the more they could not stop the 2 magic wings of Tottenham. In the 18th minute, right winger Lennon relied on his personal ability to easily turn Chamberlain and Hammond into a sieve, and without waiting for Guran to return to defense, he directly kicked the ball to the middle. Crouch jumped high at the left diagonal of the penalty area and headed the ball into the goal. Unfortunately, Crouch's waist was very soft today, and this header still had no power, so Southampton escaped. Then, in the 25th minute, Modric and Van der Vaart made a 2-on-2 cooperation in the middle, breaking through the double defensive midfielder interception of Guran and Mikel. Mikel stretched out his hand to drag Van der Vaart, limiting Van der Vaart's sprint without the ball, while Guran chased Modric with his body to block Modric's dribbling breakthrough. Modric did not dare to confront Guran with his body and hurriedly passed the ball behind the right back Richardson before Guran collided with him. Richardson turned around and chased the ball. However, Bale was very fast. When Richardson turned around, Bale directly overtook Richardson and went straight to the empty space at the bottom line. Guran immediately intercepted Bale's cut inside, but Modric pulled Guran's arm with his backhand to prevent Guran from speeding up. Bale took the opportunity to dribble the ball into the small penalty area. Facing Davis' defense, Bale kicked directly and shot at a small angle. Davis made a desperate save, but Bale shot too fast. The football passed through Davis' armpit and shot into the net. Tottenham scored again. In 25 minutes, Tottenham scored 3 goals in a row and beat Southampton. Bale happily ran to the Tottenham fan stand and made a heart shape with his hands to celebrate the goal. The whole Wembley Stadium was full of the cheers of the White Lilies. The Southampton fans covered their heads with bitter faces. Bale was originally their player, but now, Bale is helping Tottenham beat them, and after scoring, Bale celebrated with love without mercy. Southampton fans certainly didn't dare to hope that their English League One team could win the final of the English League Cup, but they were beaten in the 25th minute of the first half, which was too uncomfortable for them. What's more uncomfortable is that Southampton fans can't see any bloody counter-attacks from the Southampton team. The morale of the Southampton players has also dropped to the extreme. Coach Adkins, who was in the technical area on the sidelines, didn't know how to conduct on-the-spot command and adjustments for a while. Tottenham's front court configuration is too strong. Modric is the metronome, Van der Vaart is the commander, Bale and Lennon are the fastest wing duo in the Premier League. Crouch is the contemporary king of headers. Defoe is also extremely fast and can bite people. Although Southampton has Guran and Mikel, such a double defensive midfielder partnership can be used as 3.5 people, but it still can't stop Tottenham's attack. Southampton's original strategy was to try to physically confront Tottenham, consume Tottenham's overall physical strength, and try not to let Tottenham take the lead. Even if they really take the lead, it should not exceed 2 goals. In this way, when the physical strength of Tottenham's stars is almost exhausted in the second half, Southampton can change from full defense to relying on Guran to counter-attack. But now, in just 25 minutes, Southampton was scored 3 goals by Tottenham, and these 3 goals were completely multi-point. Even if Southampton wanted to strengthen its defense in a targeted manner, it was meaningless. Such a score is really despairing. Not to mention the other players of the Southampton team, even Guran himself couldn't help but feel a little anxious. The game continued. Southampton's defense became rough and fouls occurred frequently. This did interfere with Tottenham's offensive rhythm to a certain extent, but the price was that Southampton received 3 yellow cards in the next 10 minutes. If Southampton continued to play like this, they would have to completely collapse without waiting until the second half. In the 37th minute, Tottenham got the 6th corner kick of the game under a wave of continuous attacks from both wings. Van der Vaart kicked the ball to the midpoint, and Crouch jumped high to meet the football. Guran competed with Crouch for the header. Although Crouch is more than 2 meters tall, his waist strength is obviously not as good as Guran. As soon as the two bodies touched, Crouch was pushed away by Guran. Mikel picked up the ball, pushed away Bale who came forward to steal the ball with his elbow, and then passed the ball to Lallana. As soon as Lallana stopped the ball and waited for a forward breakthrough, Tottenham captain Ledley King rushed up to intercept, and with a precise kick, the ball was cut off from in front of Lallana. Southampton's fast break was gone. At this time, Modric retreated at high speed to respond, and Guran also stuck to Modric. Ledley King immediately passed the ball to Hector, who came up to respond under Lallana's pressure. Hector dribbled the ball along the left and was intercepted, and then knocked the ball to Van der Vaart who was running flexibly. Van der Vaart stopped and passed, and beautifully passed Mikel who rushed over fiercely. Mikel immediately chased back. Van der Vaart was very fast, but Mikel had already reached out and pulled Van der Vaart's jersey. Van der Vaart was unable to speed up, and his body immediately lost balance and fell to the ground. The referee immediately blew the whistle and decisively showed Mikel a yellow card. Mikel was annoyed. He thought that under such a strong confrontation, Van der Vaart's fall was diving. But the referee insisted on the penalty and warned Mikel that if he did such a move again, 2 yellow cards would be turned into 1 red card. Southampton had received 4 yellow cards, while Tottenham had only received 1 yellow card. As a defensive midfielder, Mikel was also very troubled by the yellow card. For this foul, the referee also awarded Tottenham a free kick in the front court with a good position, only 30 meters away from the goal line. Van der Vaart stood confidently on the penalty spot, facing Southampton's tightly packed wall, and then shot a powerful left-footed arc ball. Davis was helpless again. The ball was kicked at an almost unimaginable angle, avoiding Davis' arm, and hitting the dead corner of the goal. The ball went in. In the 39th minute of the game, the scores on the two big screens at Wembley Stadium were simultaneously changed to Tottenham Hotspur 4:0 Southampton. Tottenham's White Lilies fans were extremely happy. They already felt that the league trophy was within their grasp. Southampton was simply defeated. Unless a miracle could be created, Southampton would not only not win, but would likely be abused and create the most shameful dual score in the League Cup. The more times like this, the more we need top stars to stand up and turn the tide. Chapter 511. Tackle and follow-up shot. Southampton regains its spirits. At this moment, there were less than 5 minutes left in the first half, and some fans in the stands had already begun to leave early. With a score of 4:0 and Southampton's poor performance, the result of the game was basically no longer in doubt. Moreover, Southampton was likely to continue to collapse in the second half, and the result would be even uglier. Many of the fans who left early were Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans who came to see the excitement of Tottenham, but it was obvious that Tottenham's performance in the first half had greatly stimulated them. There were also some Southampton Saints fans who left early, but the number was very small. Most Southampton fans were sad for their home team, while continuing to stay in Wembley Stadium to cheer for the players and pray for a miracle. After all, Southampton has already made history. Southampton has only won the League Cup runner-up once in history, since the club was founded. Today, even if Southampton loses 10 goals, it is still the League Cup runner-up, and it is the League Cup runner-up won as a League One team. This gold content is still very high. The game continues. The fourth official raised a sign, indicating that 4 minutes of stoppage time will be added to the first half. Tottenham's attack is still the same. Under Guran's pressure, Modric passed the ball to Lennon on the right. After Lennon got the ball, he rushed straight into Southampton's half at high speed. Chamberlain couldn't defend Lennon's impact speed at all. Seeing that Lennon was about to cut in with the ball, Guran made a death slide tackle. First shoveled the ball under Lennon's feet, and then tripped Lennon, who was running too fast to slow down, to the ground. Lennon fell to the ground and committed consecutive fouls and consciously moved into the penalty area. However, the referee was very observant and ignored Lennon, but signaled the game to continue. Guran's tackle was picked up by Chamberlain, who was retreating. Chamberlain immediately kicked the ball and quickly advanced along the sideline. Guran also used his hands and feet to quickly get up from the edge of his own penalty area, running wildly and heading straight to the middle. Modric immediately rushed up to intercept Guran, trying to block Guran's counter-attack speed, but Guran's violent aesthetic sprint completely broke out, rushing and bumping, directly pushing Modric away, and then riding away. Most of Tottenham's players were pressed in the front court. The 4:0 advantage made them not particularly concerned about defense. Guran and Chamberlain formed a 2-on-2 situation in the front court. This was Southampton's best counter-attack opportunity since the start of the game. Tottenham's central defender Michael Dawson went to intercept Chamberlain, who was advancing with the ball, while the experienced Ledley King focused on defending Guran. Chamberlain accelerated wildly and cut inside with the ball. Michael Dawson reached out and pulled Chamberlain's arm, forcing Chamberlain to slow down. Chamberlain saw that he couldn't cut inside, and the connection between him and Guran was blocked by Ledley King, so he immediately forced a shot. This shot was very powerful, the angle was good, and it was unexpected enough. However, Tottenham's goalkeeper Gomez reacted very quickly, and with a simple step-by-step save, he blocked Chamberlain's shot. Gomez failed to hold the ball the first time, so he started on the spot and prepared to save the second point. Guran resisted Ledley King's pull, sprinted to the front of the goal with all his strength, fell to the ground, and slid and shot. Bang! The football was scooped up by Guran first. Gomez subconsciously grabbed a handful, but the ball was too fast and the distance was too close. Even if Gomez reacted quickly, he couldn't touch the ball. After Guran scooped the ball, he immediately retracted his foot. If he didn't retract his foot, the studs would directly pierce Gomez's face. Ledley King rushed to the goal desperately to save the ball, but it was too late. The ball went in. At the end of the first half, Chamberlain's shot was saved. Guran, who was being pulled to death, fell to the ground and shot the ball into the goal. On the screen of Wembley Stadium, the score was immediately rewritten as Tottenham 4:1 Southampton. The fans of Southampton were ecstatic. They didn't ask their team to win, they just asked to score a goal in the finals and not lose so badly. Guran's goal came at the right time. After the goal, Tottenham goalkeeper Gomez climbed up and took the initiative to shake hands with Guran. Gomez knew very well that if Guran was a little slower in the situation just now, his face would be ruined. So, although he was scored a goal, Gomez was still very grateful to Guran. Guran also smiled at Gomez, and then he celebrated this hard-earned goal with his Southampton teammates. This goal also boosted the morale of the Southampton team, which was about to collapse. Southampton is still far behind Tottenham. With a long whistle, the first half of the game ended. The score was temporarily fixed at Tottenham Hotspur 4:1 Southampton. The players of both teams left the field and returned to their respective locker rooms for halftime. The Wembley Stadium was full of cheers from Tottenham fans, as if the game was over and they had already won the League Cup trophy. In the away team's locker room, all the Southampton players were dejected. Although Guran scored a goal at the last minute of the first half, Southampton had almost no hope in terms of the overall score. Head coach Adkins was also full of melancholy. The team had too many problems. Coach Adkins looked at the blank tactical board and didn't know how to arrange the tactics for the second half. Southampton is a League One team after all. Of course, many of Southampton's problems are not problems in League One teams, but when facing Tottenham's unreasonable melon cutting and vegetable cutting style, all of Southampton's problems are exposed. The essence of these problems is that the team's lineup is not strong enough. Although there is Guran, and although Mikel from Chelsea was loaned out urgently, this still cannot cover up the fact that Southampton is a weak team. If it weren't for Guran and Mikel, the two midfielders, Southampton would probably have been kicked into double digits by Tottenham. Just when everyone was silent and ready to accept failure, Guran stood up calmly. Tottenham is nothing great. Their offense is very sharp, but their defense is just so-so. We are only 3 goals behind them. As long as we don't give up, we still have a chance to win this final. When the players present heard Guran say this, they all widened their eyes. Most people don't quite believe that they can win. Guran continued, I know it's not easy, but as long as we can win this game, we can create Southampton's history, and we will be remembered by every Southampton fan. We have defeated Everton. We have defeated Manchester City. We also eliminated the powerful Chelsea. We worked so hard before. We have no reason to give up in the last game. Davis also stood up immediately. Gu is right. We can't just give up. This is not our Southampton style. What's Tottenham? Even if we lose this game today, we have to lose with blood. We can't be suppressed by Tottenham. That's right. Fuck Tottenham. The atmosphere in the entire away team's locker room was excited. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 512. Did the Tottenham players open champagne in the midfield? Okay, let's give it a try. Coach Adkins made up his mind and quickly drew a formation diagram on the blank tactical board, explaining as he drew, in the second half, we don't have to defend with all our strength. The score is already like this. There is no point in defending blindly. Guran is right. Tottenham's offense is very strong, like chopping melons and vegetables. Their 2 wingers are very fast, and they have Modric and Van der Vaart in the midfield, Crouch, and Defo in the front. Our defense line can't compete with them in speed. Since we can't defend, let's change tactics. Use offense instead of defense. In the second half, except for midfielder Mikel, 2 central defenders and the goalkeeper, everyone else should press forward to attack. Pass the ball, pass it to Guran. Let Tottenham's front court offensive players be forced to defend our offense, and see if their defense line can hold on. There will be a lot of physical confrontations in the second half, and the physical energy consumption will be very high. Everyone must be fully prepared mentally. Yes, coach. Let's fight Tottenham. All the players of Southampton were excited. After a 15-minute break, the players of Southampton and Tottenham came on the field again and changed sides to fight again. The morale of the Southampton team was high, while the Tottenham team was full of smiles of winning. After the game started, Southampton kicked off. Lallana knocked the ball back to Guran and then plunged into the Tottenham half. Chamberlain and Sknedalen also ran without the ball on the two sides. Guran also rushed to the middle with the support of Lambert. Modric intercepted Guran alone, while the other players of Tottenham stood in a loose position and did not mean to defend nervously at all. Guran was not afraid of Modric's defense at all. He directly relied on his body and skills to pass Modric alive and push the ball out of the Tottenham penalty area in the blink of an eye. The Tottenham defense line became nervous, and Bell, Lennon and others also double-teamed Guran. In the blink of an eye, at least 5 Tottenham players double-teamed Guran. Guran cut across with the ball, creating space, and then kicked a half-high ball straight in front of the goal. Chamberlain, who had already cut in front of the goal without the ball, immediately jumped up and headed the ball. This pass was so beautiful, and it was so sudden. The entire Tottenham defense line was suddenly shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, goalkeeper Gomez reacted very quickly and saved the ball like a nervous knife. But then, Lallana picked up the second point in front of the goal and shot it. Gomez jumped up continuously and saved the ball again. This time, left back Hector grabbed the ball in the chaos and kicked it directly to the front court. Van der Vaart immediately chased the ball from the midline. However, Mikel, who stayed in the backcourt, took the lead in blocking the position. While knocking Van der Vaart away, he stopped the ball with his chest and then made a precise short pass to Guran, who had retreated urgently. After Guran got the ball, he immediately dribbled towards the top of the Tottenham penalty area again. Modric stuck to Guran tightly, trying to limit Guran's breakthrough. Lennon, Bell, and Ledley King also formed a certain defensive line in front of Guran to intercept. Guran used his strength to knock Modric away, then accelerated, attracting Lennon, Bell and others to the left, and then Guran made a Matthews shoulder drop and quickly inserted from Lennon's side. Lennon quickly reached out to stop Guran, but Lennon's small body couldn't stop Guran's impact. Guran saw the gap in Tottenham's back line at the top of the arc and immediately kicked a shot. World wave. The football was like an electromagnetic heavy artillery, whistling towards the dead corner of the goal. Gomez reacted very quickly, jumped up and made a one-handed extreme save. Gomez's hand touched the ball, but the power of this kick was too great. Gomez couldn't hold it with one hand at all. The football burst into the net and went straight to the upper left corner. The ball went in. The referee signaled that the goal was valid. Wembley Stadium was boiling instantly. At the beginning of the second half, Southampton changed its defensive style and launched 2 waves of strong attacks. With Guran's Battistuta-style heavy artillery, he blasted open the door of Tottenham. On the big screen of Wembley Stadium, the score was immediately rewritten as Tottenham Hotspur 4:2 Southampton. Southampton chased 2 goals in a row after losing 4 goals. Guran scored twice. The Southampton fans in the stands were all excited and tears filled their eyes. Although their team was still 2 points behind, everyone could deeply feel that Southampton had not given up. For the fans, this was the most exciting thing for them. Even if they would lose the game in the end, as long as Southampton could play with blood, they would be satisfied. At this moment, the entire Wembley Stadium was full of shouts of Chinese dad. The players of the Southampton team celebrated happily around Guran. The players of the Tottenham team were depressed. They led Southampton by 4 goals in the first half. Although they are still leading now, Southampton is obviously different. The game continues. After the Tottenham team kicked off, they continued to follow the style of the first half and launched a high-speed sprint attack from both wings. Southampton did not shrink its defense, but pushed the defense line to the front court, carried out high-pressure defense, and also increased physical confrontation. The 2 sides played back and forth in the midfield. The speed of the Tottenham team is very fast, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are the team with the fastest front court players in the Premier League. However, in the second half, Tottenham's sprint speed and frequency were obviously weakened. In addition, Tottenham's confrontation during this period was considered poor in the Premier League, so Tottenham often lost the ball during the midfield melee. In the front court of Tottenham, Crouch seems very tall, but his physical confrontation is very poor. Defoe is fast and has good footwork, but he is short and small. Not to mention the electric mouse Lennon. Van der Vaart is prone to injury and always avoids confrontation. Only Bale and Modric are somewhat confrontational. But Modric was closely guarded by Guran and couldn't hold the ball at all. The situation of the game still tilted towards Southampton. Southampton's penetration and attack began to increase gradually. On the other hand, Tottenham felt that they were being suppressed. Tottenham fans also frowned at the performance of the players on the field. They couldn't understand why Tottenham was so bad in the second half. Could it be that the Tottenham players opened champagne in the midfield? Chapter 513 4:3. Tottenham fans are suffocating. The most depressed are the fans who left early. The game was in the 71st minute. Both sides began to have physical problems in the high-intensity confrontation. However, Southampton's situation was obviously much better than Tottenham's. Tottenham's front court players are all speed type, and they have to consume a lot of physical energy in physical confrontation, and the continuous back and forth sprints make their lungs burst. Therefore, Tottenham's offensive and defensive rhythms have obviously slowed down. Tottenham's right back Joel Luca made a long pass to Van der Vaart in the front court. When Van der Vaart got the ball, Guran and Mikel had already flanked in place. Van der Vaart couldn't handle Mikel alone, let alone Guran. After Van der Vaart got the ball, he wanted to speed up and get rid of it as soon as possible, but Mikel stuck to Van der Vaart's position. Guran rushed up directly and made a precise steal, breaking the football under Van der Vaart's feet. Van der Vaart stretched out his hand to pull Guran's arm, but Guran hit him back and roughly opened Van der Vaart's arm. Van der Vaart covered his arm and grimaced in pain. This pain made Van der Vaart unable to control his thoughts of his lifelong enemy, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but Van der Vaart did not dare to complain to the referee. After all, he was the one who stretched out his hand to pull someone first. After Guran stole the ball, he rushed all the way with the ball. The Tottenham defense line was like a big enemy, and they surrounded and double-teamed in the direction of Guran's breakthrough. After Guran attracted the attention of most of the Tottenham players, he immediately knocked the ball to Lambert, who was supporting him, and then he quickly penetrated to the right rib of the penalty area. The Tottenham defensive players immediately followed Guran to defend on the right side, while Lambert took the opportunity to dribble into the penalty area and pass the ball forward to Lallana while running. After Lallana got the ball, he directly passed it to the empty space on the left side of the small penalty area. Most of Tottenham's defensive players are in the middle and on the right. There is only one Joel Luca on the left. But Joel Luca didn't react immediately. Chamberlain sprinted to the empty space on the left at a fast speed, facing the football, and volleyed at a small angle. The football stuck to the grass and shot towards the goal. Gomez's attention was all on Guran's interlaced running position, and he didn't expect Lallana to pass the ball to the left. When Gomez rushed back in a step, it was too late. The football entered the net amid the crazy cheers of Southampton fans. After scoring the goal, Chamberlain excitedly slid on his knees on the spot towards Guran and others, roaring and cheering loudly. For this ball, Southampton's offensive coordination was so beautiful. Guran's organization and connection were very perfect, almost attracting all the defensive focus of Tottenham. Lallana's distribution in the penalty area was also very powerful, and Chamberlain's cut-in from the back was just right. From the data, this goal was neither Guran's goal nor Guran's assist, but the biggest credit definitely belongs to Guran. The referee signaled that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Tottenham Hotspur 4:3 Southampton. Southampton stubbornly caught up from 4 goals behind. There are still 20 minutes left in this game. If they continue to play like this, Southampton has a good chance of tying the score or even overtaking. All the fans of Southampton stood up in the stands and excitedly sang the songs "The Saints Are Marching," and "There is a Young and Handsome Oriental Man Called Guran." The fans of Tottenham were full of anxiety. In the first half, Tottenham played well, like cutting melons and vegetables, and they wanted to let Southampton eat double digits every minute. But in the second half, Southampton hadn't collapsed yet, so why did Tottenham collapse first? Is Southampton really a League One team? Why is it so difficult to play? Could it be that Tottenham really opened champagne in the midfield? Tottenham fans booed at the Tottenham players on the field. The fans were very dissatisfied with their players' performance in the second half. Of course, the most depressed ones were not the Tottenham fans. After all, Tottenham was still leading. Theoretically, as long as Tottenham could hold on for the last 20 minutes, they would be the winners, even if they played badly in the second half. For Tottenham fans, it was just not exciting at best. The most depressed ones were the fans who left the field angrily when Tottenham beat Southampton 4-0. They finally bought the expensive tickets for the final, but only watched half of the game, and left after watching Southampton being beaten by Tottenham. But as soon as they left, Southampton scored 3 goals in a row, and played a lot of exciting scenes. The fans who left early lost money. If they had been more patient, and waited a little longer, they would have seen Guran's amazing performance. After a short celebration, the Southampton team immediately took their positions under the leadership of Guran, and prepared to continue the game. Now, Southampton's morale has been completely boosted, especially after falling behind by 4 goals, and chasing 3 goals in a row. This feeling is really great. The game continues. Tottenham stepped up their offensive. But with too much physical energy consumption, Tottenham's sprint frequency has never been raised. Southampton, through high position pressing and physical confrontation, repeatedly made Tottenham flustered. In the 80th minute of the second half, Guran rushed to the top of the arc with the ball and unreasonably kicked a long shot between the 2 central defenders. Gomez jumped up to save. After Gomez's finger hooked the ball, it changed direction and hit the goalpost, and then bounced out of the end line. Tottenham was really scared and sweated. Guran himself smiled and shook his head. If there was no Ledley King blocking the ball, Guran could kick faster and with more power. In that case, Gomez would not be able to defend this ball. Of course, it must be said that although Ledley King is already 30 years old and has a long-term difficult to heal injury, Ledley King's defensive awareness is truly world-class. The game continues. Both sides have consumed a lot of physical energy. Crouch of Tottenham is almost unable to run. Crouch is not young anymore, and his physical condition is not very strong, and his physical fitness is not the type that can run forever. In addition, Crouch's self-discipline is not very high. He was fooling around with Abby Clancy last night, and even invited Guran to fool around with him. It is already amazing to be able to play for 80 minutes. Tottenham coach Rick Knapp saw Crouch's physical fitness problem and immediately asked midfielder number 21 Niko Kranjčar to warm up on the sidelines. Niko Kranjčar is a Serbian international, a jack of all trades in the front court, and can play almost any position in the front court. More importantly, Kranjčar is 185 centimeters tall and weighs 80 kilograms, and has a strong physical confrontation. At this time, Ray substituted Kranjčar, obviously to change the formation to 44-11, letting Kranjčar replace Van der Vaart, and then put Van der Vaart behind Defoe as a shadow striker. In this way, Tottenham Hotspur had both offense and defense. Chapter 514. 10 vs 11. The second hat-trick in the history of the League Cup. The advantage is mine. After Kranjčar came on the pitch, Tottenham's midfield and front court became much stronger. The structure between striker Defoe and shadow striker Van der Vaart was also more three-dimensional. In the 83rd minute of the game, Bale made continuous breakthroughs on the left side. Seeing that Guran was about to rush over to intercept, Bale did not dare to continue to rush forward and quickly passed the ball to Modric. Modric took the opportunity to pass the ball directly to Van der Vaart outside the top of the penalty area. Van der Vaart stopped the ball and adjusted, preparing to go straight into the penalty area. At the critical moment, McCall quickly chased up, stretched out his hand to pull Van der Vaart's shoulder, and at the same time, kicked to steal the ball from Van der Vaart's feet. Van der Vaart lost his balance and fell heavily in front of the top of the arc. The fans at Wembley Stadium suddenly shouted loudly. Tottenham fans thought it was a penalty. Southampton fans thought it was a dive that deserved a red card. The referee blew the whistle to intervene, took out a yellow card, and gave it to McCall of Southampton. Southampton fans booed in anger. Southampton players also surrounded the referee and complained. Guran and Davis also put pressure on the referee. However, the referee still insisted on his decision. Mikel had already received a yellow card in the first half. Now he got another yellow card. 2 yellow cards turned into 1 red card, and Mikel had to leave the field. Mikel himself was also depressed and painful. Although he had just come to Southampton not long ago, he still liked it here. Especially the cooperation with Guran was very comfortable. In this game against Tottenham, Mikel also tried his best. As one of the back wastes of Southampton's 42-31, Mikel's role is irreplaceable. Now that Mikel was sent off at this critical juncture, it was simply fatal for Southampton. But it was more fatal than that. The referee not only sent Mikel off, but also gave Tottenham a free kick in the top area of the arc. Seeing that the appeal was fruitless, the Southampton players could only suppress their depression and quickly form a human wall. Coach Adkins also began to have Walton warm up urgently on the sidelines. It was Van der Vaart who took the free kick again. Van der Vaart glanced at the goal, then sprinted towards the bubble, and swung his left foot to shoot. Van der Vaart kicked a very beautiful left-footed arc ball. Davis was highly focused. When he saw Van der Vaart kicking, he immediately jumped up to save the ball. However, the ball was too fast and the angle was extremely tricky, so Davis was powerless. The football was shot into the net. The Tottenham fans in the stands of Wembley Stadium cheered wildly. The score on the big screen of Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Tottenham Hotspur 5:3 Southampton. The Tottenham players excitedly hugged Van der Vaart and celebrated wildly. The Southampton players knelt on the grass in pain and sighed. It was already the 83rd minute. Southampton was 2 goals behind and had an important player sent off. If they wanted to turn the tables, their chances were almost zero. Southampton fans also covered their mouths sadly. They saw the hard work of Southampton players. When the score was 4:3, hope was burning in their hearts, but now, the hope that had just been ignited was shattered again. In fact, the score of 5:3 is acceptable to Southampton fans. Such a score is not shameful at all. But I really don't want to accept it. At this time, Guran silently picked up the football and quickly ran to the center circle. The other players of Southampton were stunned at first, and then immediately followed Guran, and quickly stood in position. Coach Adkins also immediately replaced the vice-captain Walton, and replaced the right-back Richardson. Walton appeared in the position of the defensive midfielder, and the formation of Southampton's 2 central defenders and 2 side defenders was immediately changed to a 3-back formation. The game resumed. After Southampton kicked off, Guran dribbled the ball in the middle. Tottenham Hotspur defended with all their might. All Tottenham Hotspur players knew that only by limiting Guran could they maintain their 2-goal advantage until the end of the game and win the League Cup. However, the idea is one thing, and the reality is another. At the 85th minute, Tottenham Hotspur's midfield and front court players were basically out of energy, and they could not stop Guran, who was still running all over the field. Modric and Kranjčka, who had just been substituted, still had energy, but it was still very difficult for them to defend Guran alone. Guran did not bother with Modric and Kranjčka. He passed Kranjčka with a high-speed Marcel turn, and passed the ball to Lallana in the process of the Marcel turn. After Lallana got the ball, he immediately passed the ball forward. Guran made a Marcel turn, shook off Modric and Kranjčka without the ball, and got the ball back in front of the top of the arc. The 2-on-2 match between Lallana and Guran was seamless to the extreme. After Guran got the ball, he turned around and shot without even adjusting. The football was like a cannonball, penetrating the defense between Ledley King and Michael Dawson, and slashed towards the lower left corner of the goal. Gomez reacted very quickly, but he was half a beat slower after all. Guran's turn and long shot was too sudden, and the power was too great. Gomez had tried his best, but he couldn't touch Guran's shot at all. The ball went in. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. At the end of the regular game, when Southampton was sent off and trailed by 2 goals, Guran relied on his own strength to blast open Tottenham's goal with a top turn shot and field king. In the 85th minute of the game, the score at Wembley Stadium changed to Tottenham Hotspur 5:4 Southampton. Southampton chased all the way from 4 goals behind. Duran completed his hat-trick in the League Cup final. This is also the second hat-trick in the 51-year history of the League Cup. This tenacious fighting spirit made the fans of the Tottenham team tremble with fear. The fans of Southampton were all in tears, standing in the stands and shouting "Go Southampton." The players of Southampton were excited again. That's right. At this point in the game, the physical strength of both sides has reached the limit. Tottenham's offense is no longer a piece of melons and vegetables. Tottenham's defense is as crisp as a piece of paper. Damn. Duran didn't celebrate at all after scoring the goal, but just ran into the goal quickly to pick up the ball and bring it to the center circle. The other players of the Southampton team also quickly took their positions. The game is not over yet. The fourth official raised a sign indicating that there would be 3 minutes of injury time in the second half. Southampton still has 7 minutes to equalize the score. As long as they can equalize the score, Southampton can bring the game into overtime. And if we compete in physical strength in overtime, the advantage is mine. Chapter 515. 4 goals in 1 match. A new historical record in the League Cup finals was created by Duran. At this time, Tottenham's head coach Redknapp could no longer sit still. Tottenham went from an absolute lead of 4:0 to 5:4 with only 1 goal difference in the lead, and there was 1 more player on the field. If they continue to play like this, Tottenham is likely to overturn. Old Ray stood in the home team's technical area with a solemn expression, constantly directing the Tottenham players to run and defend. Under normal circumstances, Old Ray would not interfere with the players' free play, but this is the League Cup final. Losing to Manchester United or Chelsea in the final is not shameful, but if you lose to the English League One team Southampton, it would be too shameful. Under Old Ray's interference, Tottenham put all their focus on defense and began to play a defensive counter-attack. After Duran completed a historic hat-trick, Southampton's morale burst and the whole team pressed on and attacked. Those who don't know would think that the red and white jerseys are Tottenham and the white jerseys are Southampton. Although Southampton only had 10 players on the field, their momentum was like a mighty army. This Tottenham team was used to attacking with ease, but not so smart when defending. Especially when the regular game time was about to run out, Tottenham's physical strength was almost at its limit. The offense and defense changed, very obviously. When the game reached the 92nd minute, the fans of the entire Wembley Stadium were all nervous to the extreme. Southampton's offensive wave after wave, and Tottenham only needed to defend the last minute with all their strength to defeat Southampton with a 1-goal advantage and win the League Cup trophy for the 6th time in history. At this time, Duran sprinted along the middle with the ball. Van der Vaart, Modric, Kranjčka, Bale, and Lennon of Tottenham blocked Duran together. Lallana and Lambert were also stared at and could not run to respond. Duran was dribbling the ball in the encirclement like a butterfly flying through flowers, weaving and pulling between Van der Vaart and others. Van der Vaart and others couldn't limit Duran at all. Duran made a sudden stop and accelerated between Kranjčka and Modric, getting rid of the two, and then Matthews lowered his shoulder and passed through the crotch, passing Bale and passing the ball to himself 1 second later. Bale quickly reached out to pull Duran. Bale's confrontation is still good. However, Duran's strength is stronger. Bale is almost like a human pendant, hanging on Duran's body. Under Bale's pull, Duran did not stop, and directly knocked away Van der Vaart who was intercepting from the front. Van der Vaart fell to the ground in pain, but the referee ignored it. Duran dragged Bale straight into the penalty area. Ledley and Michael Dawson came up to defend. Duran quickly made a fried meatball and shot directly from the back of his left foot with the instep of his left foot. This change was too fast. Even though Gomez was experienced and had a shrewd reaction, he never expected that Duran would use his left foot to shoot at such a critical moment, and it was a powerful long shot directly from the edge of the penalty area. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult to use 100% of the left foot, and it is even more difficult to use it at this point in the game. However, Duran's left foot long shot was extremely powerful, very fast. Gomez was helpless. The football was like a cannonball, drawing a straight trajectory and bursting into the net. The ball went in. The ball went in. In the last moment of injury time, Duran scored a buzzer beater. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Tottenham Hotspur 5:5 Southampton. Southampton broke out completely after one player was sent off, scoring 2 goals in a row and equalizing the game. This was Guran's 4th goal in the final. This was also the first Big Four in the 51-year history of the League Cup, and it was a record of 4 goals scored by a non-local player. Yeah. The whole Wembley Stadium was filled with the crazy cheers of Southampton fans, Chelsea fans, and Arsenal fans. All the Southampton fans were in tears. Their team tied the score tenaciously when they were 5 goals behind. This evenly matched League Cup final was brought into overtime. Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans were also shocked. They all thought Southampton would definitely lose, but they never expected that Southampton could do this to Tottenham. As Tottenham's old rivals, Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans were happier than their own team winning at this moment. The Tottenham fans were stunned, some holding their heads, some covering their mouths, and some covering their faces and crying. They really couldn't figure it out. They had such a big advantage in the first half. Why did the two sides seem to have exchanged souls in the second half? Did the Tottenham players really open champagne at halftime? At this time, the referee blew the whistle to end the regular game, and the players of both sides returned to the bench to rest. The rest time between overtime and regular time is only 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, it is the first and second half of the game. Each half is 15 minutes, and there is no rest time in between. However, the referee can decide how long the halftime interval of overtime is based on the situation on the field, but it cannot exceed 5 minutes at most. In addition, there is no injury time in overtime. This means that, even if the injury delays 15 minutes, the game will be like this, and there will be no additional time. The Southampton players returned to the bench with blood boiling, and took the time to replenish water, massage, and take snuff. At this time, the Southampton players had only one idea: to fight hard, win this game, and bring back the honor that has never been seen in history to Southampton. The advantage is mine. Although Southampton only has 10 players on the field, Southampton's overall physical fitness is much higher than that of Tottenham, and the confrontation is also stronger. However, if the overtime continues to be tied, then Southampton will have no advantage. Gomez, the goalkeeper of Tottenham, is a super expert in saving penalties. Gomez can often save penalties in key games. Southampton's penalty kicks and penalty kick defense capabilities are completely inferior to Tottenham. Therefore, in this game, Southampton's only chance is to deal with Tottenham in overtime. Coach Adkins urgently arranged the tactics for overtime. Southampton's tactics are still the same, and they still have to pass the ball to Guran. Davis took the lead and shouted, "Brothers, beat Tottenham. Come on. Come on. Beat Tottenham. Come on. Come on." The Southampton players put their hands together and cheered themselves up loudly. The first half of overtime begins. Chapter 516. More than 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium witnessed a miracle reversal in the finals. At the beginning of the first half of overtime, Tottenham continued to adopt an all-out defensive strategy. At this point in the game, Tottenham's midfielder and front court could no longer sprint, and the physical confrontation was strained. They could only stall for time by shrinking in defense. Leo's idea was also very obvious, which was to delay the half hour of overtime and enter a penalty shootout. In overtime, Tottenham could not take any advantage of the Southampton team, which is known for its physical strength. Even if Southampton was fighting with 10 people, Tottenham's real advantage was in the penalty shootout, so as long as, after tying the extra time, Southampton can basically win on penalties. This is why Van der Vaart and others can no longer run, but Leo insists on letting Van der Vaart and others stay on the court. In the first half of overtime, under the leadership of Guran, the Southampton team attacked like a wave and completely turned away from home. The Tottenham team defended like a steel bucket bus. Southampton had 3 excellent opportunities. One was Guran's through ball that was tackled by Ledley King, and the second was Chamberlain's inward cut that deflected away Joel Luca, but the shot hit the target. The goalpost was hit, and the third time was Guran's heavy shot from long range, but it was reflected by Gomez's nerve knife and lifted off the crossbar. Tottenham defended very well, but they were also very embarrassed. Who would have thought that a strong Premier League team that once scored 4 goals in the first half would be dragged into overtime by our English League One team and would be pushed to the ground and robbed repeatedly during overtime. Tottenham fans at Wembley Stadium felt their faces burning. Even if Tottenham win today's game, they won't be too happy. What's more, if they keep playing like this, they may not be able to win. The first half of overtime ended quickly. Southampton bombed wildly, but in the end they failed to knock on the door of Tottenham. Southampton's players were all a little impatient. The Tottenham players were secretly relieved, but at the same time they were also feeling a lot of pressure. The referee allowed the two teams to rest briefly for 2 minutes, then changed sides and started fighting again. In the 25th minute of overtime, after Guran received Chamberlain's pass from the wing, he accelerated and dribbled the ball diagonally into Tottenham's penalty area. Although he has played for 120 minutes, Guran is still physically fit and his sprint speed has not slowed down. Tottenham's defensive players knew that Guran was about to cross into the penalty area, but they couldn't seal this loophole. At this critical moment, loyal veteran Ledley King rushed up to block it. Guran didn't give up at all. He made a quick Marcel maneuver. While protecting the ball, he turned around and passed the ball to Lallana, who had already broken through into the penalty area. Immediately afterwards, Guran completed the Marcel slalom with Ledley King and strode towards the football that Lallana knocked back. Guran was about to rush into the penalty area. Ledley King quickly stretched out his hand to pull Guran, while Michael Dawson on the other side fell to the ground and made a sliding shovel, sending Guran flying from behind. Beep beep beep. The referee blew the whistle immediately. The fans at Wembley Stadium seemed to be in a panic. Tottenham fans covered their faces and howled. It was already embarrassing enough for them to defend with all their strength, but now Michael Dawson fouled at this time. It was simply a loss of life. Fans from Southampton, Chelsea, and Arsenal were worried about Guran's injury. For Chelsea and Arsenal fans, they don't care at all whether Southampton can win the League Cup. They only care that their future team superstar Guran must not get injured. For the Southampton team, they do not want their star Guran to be injured, but if they can take the opportunity to win the League Cup and create Southampton history, that would be great. The referee showed Michael Dawson a red card. Tottenham's centre-back was sent off. This is undoubtedly huge bad news for Tottenham, which is fully defensive. The worst news is that the referee awarded Southampton a free kick very close to the penalty area line. The even worse news was that not long after Guran was shoveled into the air, he climbed up from the turf like a normal person. Tottenham goalkeeper Gomez urgently deployed a human wall. Guran bent down and straightened the football. Guran's jersey was dirty and soaked with sweat, but this only highlighted the strong and huge outline of Guran's legs. Tottenham fans were nervous to the extreme. Southampton fans also clasped their hands and prayed silently. Guran himself was very nervous. This ball is very crucial, so the pressure of playing this ball can be imagined. Guran took a deep breath and quickly calmed down his nervousness. The game has reached this level, and my performance is amazing enough. There is nothing to regret. Just perform at your normal level. Gu then took 3 big steps back, then sprinted with all his strength, raised his right leg and fired. Full moon scimitar. Deadly elevator. Heavy artillery long shot. Multiple overlays. Like an electromagnetic artillery shell, the football passed through the top of Tottenham's wall in an arc like a full moon, and then fell rapidly. Gomez counter-attacked very quickly. He judged the trajectory of the football almost as soon as Guran took off his foot. Gomez jumped up and stretched his body to the limit to save. If you want to rate Gomez's saving action, you can definitely give it a high score of 9.9. Giving 0.1 less points is because Gomez is proud. Of course, the action was beautiful, but Gomez did not touch the ball. The arc of Guran's full moon scimitar elevator ball is really weird and three-dimensional. Gomez could only defend against Guran's full moon scimitar arc, but failed to defend against Guran's fatal elevator. The football landed in front of Gomez, and then bounced up. It just avoided Gomez's 9.9 point sideways diving jump, and bounced towards the net. There is nothing Gomez can do. The ball went in. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. On the two big screens at Wembley Stadium, the score was immediately rewritten as Tottenham Hotspur 5:6 Southampton. The entire Wembley Stadium exploded. More than 90,000 fans witnessed a miracle reversal in the finals. Southampton led 5-6. Southampton fans are going crazy. The fans in the live broadcast room are also going crazy. Especially those fans who bought Southampton to win by 2 goals, and those fans who took the risk and bought Southampton to win. They have seen the god of wealth smiling at them. The Tottenham fans covered their faces in disbelief. The Tottenham players were also stunned, with empty eyes. The Southampton players on the field rushed towards Guran crazily, pinning Guran under them to celebrate. In the visiting team's technical area, Coach Adkins was so excited that tears filled his eyes. He knelt on the turf and kept thanking God. In the home team's technical area, old Ray Redknapp impatiently asked the players to kick off as soon as possible. There is not much time left in overtime. Chapter 517. Fairy from the Sky. Kill the suspense. We are the champions. The situation has now been completely reversed. First, both sides had 10 players on the field. Second, Southampton tenaciously reversed the score and created the Wembley miracle. Southampton was already in an invincible state in terms of mentality, while Tottenham became very impatient. Tottenham wanted to rely on defense to tie the game and drag it to a penalty shootout, but Guran's shocking crescent-shaped scimitar broke Tottenham's hope of a penalty shootout. Now Tottenham can only restart the attack and strive to score a goal in the last 10 minutes, so as to drag this final into a penalty shootout. However, with almost no physical energy consumed and Southampton's morale exploding, it is too difficult to score a goal. Tottenham's first wave of attack was due to the physical disconnection between the midfield and the front court, resulting in the pass going out of bounds. Southampton immediately took the opportunity to replace Chamberlain with midfielder/left back Dixon to continue to strengthen the wing defense. Chamberlain limped off the field as if his leg was injured, but in fact, he was not. This was just a delay time. After all, there is no extra time in extra time, and the weak team should make reasonable use of all the rules. Tottenham fans boo Chamberlain, while Southampton fans, Chelsea fans, and Arsenal fans gave Chamberlain warm applause. Chamberlain performed very well in today's game. Although he was always beaten by Electric Mouse Lennon in the early stage, his father didn't recognize him. However, in the second half, as Lennon's physical strength was exhausted, Chamberlain could often eat Lennon alive with his body and repeatedly relied on speed to cross the ball. Seeing Chamberlain walking slowly off the field, Defo couldn't help but rush up and push Chamberlain. Chamberlain was stunned at first and then fell on the field with his face covered. He was only 5 steps away from leaving the field. Now, time has been delayed for at least half a minute. Defo was so angry that he wanted to bite Chamberlain. The referee blew the whistle and ran over, giving Defo a yellow card and Chamberlain another yellow card. Chamberlain immediately left the field obediently. If he received another yellow card, Dixon would not have to play. The game resumed, but there was really not much time left for Tottenham. Tottenham's physical fitness was a huge disadvantage. Under the influence of physical fitness, their error rate became extremely high, and they could never get the ball in place to receive it. When the ball went out of bounds for the second time, Coach Adkins used the last substitution. The young defender Martin came on the field and replaced the veteran JD. JD already had a yellow card and did not dare to take another yellow card, so he trotted off the field slowly. After this wave of substitutions, there were only the last 3 minutes left in the entire overtime. Southampton fans cheered wildly, with no intention of stopping at all. Tottenham continued their crazy counter-attack, and even the back line pressed past half the field. Modric dribbled the ball in the middle, and after being intercepted by Lallana and Lambert, he immediately passed the ball to Van der Vaart, who was running forward. However, before Van der Vaart could catch the ball, Guran rushed out from the middle of the road, and with a deadly sliding tackle, he stopped the ball at his feet. Modric hurried forward to counter-grab on the spot, but Lallana and Lambert stuck Modric tightly, and both sides tried their best. After Guran stopped the ball, he immediately straightened his waist and abdomen, and stood up gorgeously. This action also startled the screams of women in the entire Wembley Stadium. Then, Guran ran all the way from the backcourt with the ball. Bell slid from the side, but Guran's speed was too fast, and Bell didn't even touch Guran. Guran dribbled the ball across the center line and looked up to see Gomez standing on the line of the penalty area. This was obviously trying to intercept one-on-one in the penalty area. Gomez, you probably don't know that there is a Manchester City goalkeeper Joe Hart. After Guran crossed the center line, he passed the ball forward and then quickly followed and volleyed directly in the air while running wildly. 50 meters away. Fairy from the sky. Gomez was completely dumbfounded. At the first moment, Gomez thought that the ball was just a plain shot, but in the next moment, Gomez realized that it was not a plain shot. By the third moment, Gomez had no time to turn around and defend. The football whistled towards the goal. Gomez jumped up and scooped the ball with one hand. The ball went in. With only 3 minutes left in the game, Guran completely killed the suspense with a ruthless move from the sky. The cheers of Southampton fans resounded throughout the Wembley Stadium. The ridicule of Chelsea and Arsenal fans to Tottenham fans also resounded throughout the Wembley Stadium. And Tottenham fans were stunned, and they couldn't believe that they were beaten by a League One team. And they won it fairly. Southampton is so passionate and tenacious. Let 5 chase 7. This League Cup final also created the best League Cup record. In this final, Guran scored twice, a hat-trick, 4 goals, 5 goals and 6 good lucks. This record is unprecedented and will never be surpassed. The only one who can surpass Guran is Guran himself. The Southampton players rushed to Guran frantically, pressing Guran under them to celebrate. Tottenham went from leading by 4 goals to falling behind by 2 goals. The change in mentality was enough to destroy any of them. Head coach Leo Lay stood in the technical area, spreading his hands in despair. He might have thought that Southampton might be a little tricky, but he never expected that Tottenham would be beaten so badly by Southampton in the first half. The game resumed, but there was less than 1 minute left. Tottenham had no morale and no intention of fighting. Southampton's physical strength had also reached its limit, and both sides had fought to the point where they could not fight anymore. At this time, the referee finally blew the whistle to end the overtime. Wembley Stadium exploded instantly. Southampton fans cheered wildly to celebrate their hard-earned first League Cup championship in the club's history. Tottenham fans covered their faces and cried, refusing to accept this reality. Southampton's substitutes and staff all rushed into the field and celebrated with the players on the field. We are the champions. We are the champions. Woo woo woo. Captain Davis and Vice Captain Walton knelt on the ground, holding their heads and crying. It is no exaggeration to say that in their lifetime, they never dared to think that they would be lucky enough to win the League Cup. Mikel, who was loaned from Chelsea, was also excited and could hardly control himself. He was just a substitute in the Chelsea team who had almost no chance to play. He thought he could get a league championship with Chelsea, but Chelsea was eliminated by Southampton. Now he is wearing the Southampton jersey and won the League Cup with his own hands. This feeling is really great. Emanalo is not lying to me. Chapter 518, Qualification for the Europa League qualifiers. The most awesome English League trophy in history. After the game officially ended, the podium for the 2011 English League Cup was quickly built in the venue. Southampton's players changed into the golden sports jackets that had been prepared long ago, and under the introduction of the on-site DJ, all of them stepped onto the championship podium. The Tottenham team wore their white uniforms and stood on the runner-up podium in a depressed mood. David Bernstein, chairman of the English Football Association, smiled and presented the runner-up team Tottenham with a shiny silver medal. Modric bowed to accept it, while Van der Vaart had a blank expression on his face. After walking in front of David Bernstein, he took off the silver medal and put it in his pocket. When it was Southampton's turn to receive the gold medal, the entire Wembley Stadium was boiling. Captain Davis walked in front, and the second place should have been Vice Captain Walton, but Walton insisted that Guran walk in front of him. Guran couldn't resist and had to walk in front of Vice Captain Walton. In this game, Southampton scored 7 goals, and Guran scored 6 of them himself. He is definitely the boss. Not to mention letting Guran walk to the front. Even if Guran rode them to the stage to receive the award, they would be willing. When David Bernstein presented the award to Guran, he said with a smile, "Gu, congratulations. It is my honor to present the award to you. Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. Guran wore the glittering gold medal, and his smile was so strong that even I couldn't suppress it. I thought that was the end of it, but I didn't expect David Bernstein to still hold Guran's hand. Gu, your performance today was really wonderful. After getting this award, your value will definitely double. What are your plans for next season? Guran smiled. It's like this, Mr. Bernstein. I plan to stay in Southampton and help Southampton get promoted to the Premier League. David Bernstein was stunned for a moment, then patted the back of Guran's hand. Haha, ambitious. Very good. Very good. However, with your strength, you should actually go to a higher club such as Manchester City. Guran cleared his throat. Mr. Bernstein, this is Southampton's award ceremony. Oh, yes. David Bernstein smiled. I was also excited for a moment and forgot the occasion. Anyway, congratulations, Gu. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. Guran walked past Bernstein wearing the gold medal. Soon after, other Southampton players also received the League Cup gold medal, including the substitutes who had not played. After the gold and silver medals were awarded, it was the League Cup trophy. The League Cup trophy is smaller than the FA Cup trophy and the League Cup trophy because the League Cup was created to imitate the FA Cup, and its gold content is indeed not as high as the FA Cup. The champion of the League Cup has the same qualification for the European War as the FA Cup champion, but the champion of the League Cup has to start from the third qualifying round of the Europa League. But no matter what, next season, Southampton will not only be promoted to the championship, but also have the qualification for the Europa League. Playing in the Europa League as a second-tier league is also a rare existence in the history of football. Wigan Athletic and Birmingham also got the entry card for the Europa League qualifiers as second-tier leagues, but they all fell in the qualifiers. Southampton's situation is different from Wigan Athletic and Birmingham. To be precise, Southampton actually qualified for the Europa League in the third-tier league. As a third-tier league team, Southampton's League Cup trophy is definitely the most awesome one in history. The name of the League Cup trophy is not fixed, and the name is named by business. The sponsor of the League Cup from 2009 to 2012 was Carling Beer, so the English League Cup was also called the Carling Cup. In 2012, the main sponsor was replaced by Capital One and called the Capital One Cup. In 2016, Thai energy drink brand Carabao Energy Drink signed a 3-year contract with the English Football League and became its title sponsor from the 2017-18 season. The historic English League Cup was also renamed the Carabao Cup. This trophy was still presented by David Bernstein. Captain Davis was supposed to go on stage to receive the award, but Davis insisted that Guran go on stage. Guran took the lead and walked to David Bernstein. David Bernstein handed the heavy trophy to Guran with both hands, and Guran immediately raised the trophy domineeringly. The ribbons on the scene were flying. Suddenly, the whole Wembley Stadium fell into a carnival. Southampton made history for the club. This is the first time they have won the League Cup trophy. After the award ceremony, Southampton's farewell ceremony has just begun. Southampton's players took turns holding the League Cup trophy and cheering in front of their fans, and the Saints fans were also jumping wildly and cheering in response. The whole scene was more exciting than the most exciting nightclub. The farewell ceremony lasted for more than half an hour, and the crazy fans still refused to leave. Guran took off his jacket, then took off the jersey inside, threw the jacket and jersey into the stands, then bowed deeply to the fans, and then returned to the player tunnel. Southampton's fans still shouted Chinese dad at Guran's back. After returning to the locker room, the team's celebration continued. The players were all topless, holding champagne for celebration and spraying each other. Guran and coach Adkins became the main targets of the champagne attack. Fortunately, the exclusive team doctor Math rushed up and took Guran away for physical therapy. Otherwise most of the bottle of champagne would be wasted on Guran. After the physical therapy and shower, Southampton's bus took the champions back to Southampton. Along the way, the vehicles of Southampton fans took the initiative to escort the bus, and the scene was magnificent. On the bus, Coach Adkins couldn't wait to announce that Southampton won a championship bonus of £1 million. The club's top executives have decided that the £1 million of winning bonus will be distributed to the first team players and coaching staff, and each person can get more than £30,000. Of course, as the biggest contributor, Guran alone enjoyed a bonus of £300,000. The whole team was very convinced, and some even thought that Guran received too little and should have received a bonus of £900,000. Adding the bonuses won in the previous rounds of knockout matches, almost every player on the Southampton team received a bonus of about £80,000 in this League Cup. In addition, the club also took out an extra portion of its profits and gave each player an additional £20,000, so that each player received at least a total bonus of £100,000. And Guran's total bonus amount reached £500,000. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 519. The sixth round of the FA Cup is coming. The British star. That man. After the bus returned to Southampton, the people of Southampton lined the streets to welcome it. The bus could hardly move in the crazy crowd. Almost every Southamptonian wanted to share this championship moment with Guran. Seeing that the bus could not move, Guran simply climbed onto the roof with his teammates, raised the League Cup trophy high, and celebrated with everyone. The already hot scene suddenly became even crazier. Thousands of fans centered on the bus, stretched their arms towards Guran, sang and danced, and the scene seemed like a doomsday zombie siege. This was the first League Cup championship in the history of Southampton, and it was won as a League One team. Every Southampton fan was ecstatic about it. Many female fans even lifted up their clothes and frantically showed their surging excitement to Guran. Guran was embarrassed to blink. After more than 2 hours of carnival, the bus finally returned to the Staplewood training base. At this time, the Staplewood training base had been decorated anew, and a huge banner was hung at the door welcome the champion home. The club's top executives were all dressed neatly, waiting for the champions to return early in the cold wind. As soon as Guran got off the car with the championship trophy, the club's top executives excitedly greeted him, asking about his well-being and flattering him. Guran was secretly very happy. And it was not just that. At the celebration banquet in the evening, all the Southampton executives and important shareholders attended, vying to toast Guran. Everyone knows that this League Cup was won thanks to Guran. Guran's reputation in the Southampton club has also reached its peak. That night, the Southampton club booked the Orange Bar, and the whole team went to the bar to celebrate. Even Coach Adkins was no exception. Although Guran didn't like to go to bars, the bar girls were too enthusiastic when they came here, and they kept getting into Guran's arms. Fortunately, Guran was a serious person and controlled himself. The whole team partied until 4 or 5 in the morning, and then gradually dispersed. After Guran returned to the Dune Villa, he had a good sleep. When he woke up at noon the next day, his phone was almost blown up. Various congratulatory messages came one after another, and he couldn't count them all. Guran picked out a few important ones to reply to, and also made an appointment with Evelyn to go horseback riding at Hayden Manor tonight. After all, he had been busy with competitions recently, and hadn't ridden horses properly. When Guran was having lunch, Mens called. "Hi, champion. Did you have fun last night?" Guran rubbed his head, which was still a little hungover, and sighed. "I'm happy, but I didn't expect that celebrating would be more tiring than playing football. Ha ha ha." Mens on the other end of the phone laughed happily. "You will adapt. You have to adapt sooner or later. I want to congratulate you on winning the League Cup trophy, and also congratulate you on qualifying for the Europa League. Your reputation has begun to spread in Europe, and I have received many transfer inquiries from European clubs." Guran hurriedly said, "Mens, you know I will not leave here until I bring Southampton to the Premier League." Mens smiled. "Of course, I know. But you'd better hurry up, because everyone can't wait to see you playing for a wealthy club." Guran smiled. "Isn't it more fun to play against a wealthy club from a weak team?" Menz was stunned, then laughed. It's really cool, but I still advise you to go to a wealthy club as soon as possible. Only with the support of a wealthy and powerful team can you win the Champions League. I understand. In the League Cup final, the weak team's shortcomings were very obvious in front of the strong team. If it weren't for Mikel in the early stage, and Guran's own explosion in the later stage, it would be a fool's dream for Southampton to reverse Tottenham. It can be said that the reason why they won the League Cup was largely because both Aldray and Tottenham underestimated the enemy. In order to advance to the Europa League safely, Southampton's lineup must be strengthened. And if they want to win the Champions League, they must have the support of teammates from the top clubs. Of course, it is too early to consider the Champions League at this time. Then, Guran asked Menz about the purchase of Southampton shares. Menz reported that he had purchased 51% of the shares, and Guran was already a de facto controlling shareholder of Southampton, which means that Guran is now the hidden boss of Southampton Club. Since he is already the big boss, then it would not be considered as a player pointing fingers at the team if he instructed Southampton to dig some useful talents. Menz suggested that the profitable stocks should be sold so that half of the capital can be earned back, and Guran's repayment pressure will be much less. He can buy back the stocks after Southampton's stock price drops. This is a good idea, but Guran did not accept Menz's short-term operation thinking. Instead, he asked Menz not to worry about the problem of funds and just continue to acquire. Menz could only agree with Guran's proposal. After lunch, Guran did some simple recovery training. At 5 PM, when Guran was about to drive to Hayden Manor to ride Evelyn's horse, his personal assistant Rick sent him the march schedule through his mobile phone. This schedule should have been sent last night, but Rick drank too much last night, hugged a slender bar girl, and complained about all kinds of things, and then vomited violently, so Guran saw the schedule at this time. Guran was secretly happy for Rick. A pair of underwear was stuffed into Rick's pocket last night. Guran was worried that Rick would not survive for 24 hours. The schedule in March is still a devil's schedule, with a total of 8 games. The first game is at 7:45 PM on Wednesday, March 2nd, the 32nd round of the English League One. Southampton will challenge Walsall away. The second game is at 3 PM on Saturday, March 5th, the 33rd round of the English League One. Southampton will challenge Bournemouth away. The third game is at 7:30 PM on Tuesday, March 8th, the 34th round of the English League One. Southampton will face Tranmere Rovers at home. The fourth game is at 3:30 PM on Sunday, March 13th, the sixth round of the FA Cup. Southampton will challenge the Premier League team Black Cat Sunderland away. The fifth game is at 7:45 PM on Wednesday, March 16th, the 35th round of the English League One. Southampton will face Carlisle United at home. The sixth match, at 3 PM on Saturday, March 19th, in the 36th round of the English League One. Southampton will challenge Brighton away. The seventh match, at 7:45 PM on Wednesday, March 23rd, in the 37th round of the English League One. Southampton will host Charlton Athletic. The eighth match, at 7:45 PM on Saturday, March 1930, in the 38th round of the English League One. Southampton will host Milton Keynes Athletic. The matches in March are still full. However, apart from the English League One, there is only one really important match, which is the match against the Black Cat Sunderland in the 6th round of the FA Cup. The Black Cat Sunderland is also very fierce this season, especially with the British star, that man sitting in the team. Guran couldn't help but smile at the thought of being able to compete with that man. Guran stepped on the accelerator and drove to Hayden Manor, riding a horse. Chapter 520 FA Cup 6th round. Sunderland's Black Cat Metaphysics. March 2nd, Southampton challenged Walsall away. Guran was advised by the team Dr. Math to rest, and did not play with the team. Not only Guran, most of the main players of Southampton did not play. After all, the final of the English League Cup was too tiring, and the celebration after the competition was also tiring, which seriously overdrawn the energy of the main players. In addition, they will play the 6th round of the FA Cup with the Black Cats Sunderland on March 13th, so it is most important for the main players to rest well. There are only 8 rounds of the FA Cup, the 7th round is the semi-finals, and the 8th round is the finals. Southampton has already fought to the 6th place, the League Cup Championship trophy has also been won, and the English League One Championship has also been won. Only the English Championship and the FA Cup are left, so Southampton is now relaxed, and there is no need to give up the FA Cup. Therefore, in this game with Walsall, Southampton just sent substitutes to play casually. In the end, Walsall won the away challenge of Southampton with a score of 2-1 and won the precious 3 points. Although Southampton's full substitute lineup lost the game, central defender Aaron Martin and midfielder Ward-Prowse performed well. On March 5th, the 33rd round of the English League One kicked off, and Southampton challenged Bournemouth away. In this game, Coach Adkins still sent all the substitutes, and continued to let the main players rest. In the end, Bournemouth won, Southampton 1-0 with a penalty kick, and won the 3 points they dreamed of. Southampton's substitutes did a good job in defense, and Ward-Prowse continued to perform well. With his performance, it is just around the corner for him to become the main player of Southampton. On Tuesday, March 8th, the 34th round of the English League One, Southampton's home game against Tranmere Rovers began. In this game, Coach Adkins recalled the main players who had been resting for nearly 10 days. Duran, Mikel and others all started to adjust their competitive state, adapt to the rhythm of the game, and prepare for the next game with the Black Cat Sunderland. Before this, Southampton had lost 2 games in a row, and Tranmere Rovers also wanted to take this opportunity to get precious 3 points from Southampton. However, the final result was Southampton 7-0 Tranmere Rovers. If Guran, Chamberlain and Lallana were not replaced at the same time in the 75th minute of the game to save energy, Tranmere Rovers would have been kicked into double digits. Southampton fans witnessed a hearty slaughter at their home stadium. Southampton fans were extremely happy. At noon on Saturday, March 12th, Southampton players took a bus to the airport, flew to Newcastle, and then took a bus to Sunderland, which is adjacent to Newcastle. Sunderland is located in the northeast of England, and is also a famous port town. Because the distance spans the entire British Isles, it is most convenient to take a plane. In order to allow Southampton players to have the best competitive state, the Southampton club, whose economic conditions have begun to improve, has specially booked a 5-star hotel 1 day in advance. Southampton also attaches great importance to the 6th round of the FA Cup. As soon as they settled in the hotel, they immediately went to Sunderland Stadium of Light for adaptive training. After dinner in the evening, Coach Adkins gave the main players another tactical analysis class, emphasizing which players should be focused on and marked. That night, Duran turned off his mobile phone and went to bed early. The next morning, after getting up, Duran practiced in the hotel's VIP gym. At 9 o'clock in the morning, after a nutritious breakfast, the Southampton team took a bus to the Stadium of Light. Before noon, the Southampton team conducted another adaptive warm-up, and then returned to the visiting team's locker room to rest. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the fans began to enter. Sunderland Stadium of Light can accommodate 49,000 fans. At least 40,000 local Black Cats fans came, and the remaining 9,000 tickets were divided between Southampton fans and Newcastle United fans. Sunderland and Newcastle United belong to the same northern club. The two teams are very close to each other, and are also rival clubs. Therefore, the number of Newcastle United fans is no less than that of Southampton. After all, Newcastle United is much closer to Sunderland than Southampton is to Sunderland, so it is more convenient to watch the game on site, and Newcastle United really wants to see the Black Cats being abused. Sunderland's ancestors were once rich. Sunderland has won the English Premier League 6 times and the FA Cup twice. This record is obviously much better than that of Southampton Club in the south. Sunderland was at its peak between 1891 and 1913, and almost won the championship and runner-up of the English top league. Unfortunately, Sunderland did not establish its own Black Cat dynasty. Instead, it declined all the way and eventually became Manchester United's second-team club. Whether it was youth training or official competitions, Sunderland became a faction vassal team of Manchester United for a long time. Of course, this kind of team is also quite common in English clubs. Strong teams can train these young players by loaning outstanding young players to vassal teams. For example, in addition to Sunderland, the Manchester United faction also includes Everton and Watford. Chelsea faction includes Bournemouth, Aston Villa, and Leicester City. Manchester City faction includes West Ham United. Liverpool faction includes Southampton. Arsenal faction includes Newcastle United. These teams are all related to each other's commercial interests, arrange friendly matches, and transfer talents to each other during a certain period or a certain period. The reason why Sunderland is called the Black Cat comes from metaphysics. In 1937, a Sunderland fan named Billy brought a black cat into the stadium during the FA Cup final and predicted to reporters that his black cat would bring good luck to Sunderland. As a result, Sunderland won the FA Cup match. After the media spread the news, the metaphysical effect of black cats became widely known. Some people said that they had been blind for several years, but after hugging a black cat, their ears became particularly sensitive. Some people said that they lost their wallets, but after hugging a black cat, they found that their wallets were lost and found, but the thousands of pounds in them were gone. Some people said that they had azoospermia and had no children, but after their wife hugged a black cat, she became pregnant successfully. What made him even happier was that his next door neighbor Tom also celebrated for him happily. In short, Sunderland people wholeheartedly believe in the metaphysics of black cats. Although the Sunderland team's emblem is two majestic black lions, and although Sunderland people don't always win every time they watch a game with a black cat, they still like black cats. Black cats are the symbol of Sunderland. Chapter 521, Black Cat Sheriff. England's true enemy club. In today's game, the media and bookmakers are generally more optimistic about Sunderland. After all, Sunderland is an English Premier League team, and this season Sunderland, because of the blessing of the Manchester United faction, has a very good performance. Not only did they make it to the 6th round of the FA Cup, but they are also temporarily ranked 8th in the Premier League. This season can be said to be smooth sailing. Of course, Southampton is not bad either. Although Southampton is still a League One team this season, Southampton has already locked the League One Championship in advance and also won the League Cup. If they win the English Championship, then Southampton will be the Triple Crown this season. If they can win the FA Cup and then the Community Shield, then Southampton will achieve 5 crowns in the third level league. Before the League Cup final, almost everyone thought that Southampton could not create a miracle on Tottenham, but Guran still did it. So, the 5 crowns may not be impossible. At around 2 p.m., the referee team entered the venue to inspect the venue. Then, as the visiting team, Southampton came on the field for the final pre-match adaptation warm-up. When Guran stood at the Stadium of Light, the fans of Southampton and Newcastle United all stood up and cheered wildly. A few minutes later, the home team Sunderland came on the field for warm-up. The Stadium of Light suddenly raised even louder cheers, and the Black Cats flag was also waving desperately in the stands. Since Sunderland's home jersey is also red and white, Southampton wore black away jerseys in this game. At 2:45, the players of both sides finished their adaptation warm-up and returned to their respective locker rooms for the final rest. At 2:50, the players of both sides lined up in the passage, each holding the hand of the little ball boy, and under the leadership of the referee, they officially entered the field and shook hands in line. The captains of both sides came to the referee to guess the coin. The captain of Southampton is Davis, and the captain of Sunderland is Lee Cattermole, one of the famous 10 engineers in the Premier League and the violent card-eating king. Davis guessed the right side and got the priority to choose the side, while Cattermole got the priority to kick off for Sunderland. The captains of both teams exchanged team flags and shook hands with the referee. Then, the players of both teams took photos in their respective half. The FA Cup is not unfamiliar to Southampton. In the history of Southampton, they have won the FA Cup once, and it was the second year after being relegated to English League Two, the second-tier league at that time. That is, in 1976, they defeated Manchester United with a score of 1-0 and won the FA Cup. This is also the best result of Southampton club. In addition, Southampton has never won the top league championship, only the runner-up. Judging from this result alone, Southampton is far behind Sunderland. Coach Adkins still sent out the full main lineup of 42-31 today. The striker is still Lallana, who can retreat to be a central midfielder. The three forwards are Chamberlain, Lambert, and Schneiderlin. The two defensive midfielders are Guran and Mikel. The four defenders are Hammond, JD, Font and Richardson. The goalkeeper is still Captain Davis. This configuration has reversed Tottenham and won the League Cup, so Coach Adkins also trusts this offensive and defensive formation very much. Sunderland sent out a 422 formation with a traditional British style. Sunderland's head coach is Stephen Bruce, the Black Cat Sheriff, who is famous in the UK and even in Europe. Stephen Bruce was definitely a first-class star when he was a player. As a player, Stephen Bruce has won the English Top League Championship 3 times. He has played for Norwich, Manchester United, Birmingham and other teams. Bruce's leadership ability was demonstrated when he was a player. After Brian Robson retired, he wore the captain's armband of the Red Devils Manchester United, and his leadership was evident. With his friendly relationship with Manchester United, he also obtained a lot of Manchester United player resources when he coached Sunderland. Therefore, when Stephen Bruce coached Sunderland, the record was also very impressive. But in fact, Stephen Bruce's coaching ability is just that. Without the bonus of Manchester United's resources, Stephen Bruce's tactical shortcomings became very obvious. When he left Sunderland, he accepted the invitation of Sunderland's mortal enemy Newcastle United and became the head coach of the mortal enemy. It is not too strange for the head coach to turn to the mortal enemy. For example, Tottenham's old Ray once ran from Portsmouth to Southampton to coach in anger, and then in anger again, he jumped back to Portsmouth from Southampton. However, both Portsmouth and Southampton are very grateful to old Ray, because old Ray is really capable and really awesome when leading the team. However, when Black Cat Sheriff Stephen Bruce led Newcastle United, his performance was very bleak. So much so that Magpie fans think that this fat man is a black cat undercover. In particular, the blood debt between Newcastle and Sunderland is far more than just football, so Newcastle people can't accept a coach who has achieved good results in Sunderland, but is so bad in Newcastle. The hostility between Sunderland and Newcastle can be traced back to the bourgeois revolution, led by Cromwell in the 17th century. As the largest city in northwest England, the locals of Newcastle are loyal royalists, while the nearby town of Sunderland was originally an unknown township, but because of the dividends of the Industrial Revolution, Sunderland became the largest shipbuilding base in the entire north, and the Sunderland people also became rich rapidly because of industry. Therefore, during the Cromwell bourgeois revolution, the two sides fought bloody battles. The contradiction between Newcastle and Sunderland was deeply rooted 200 years before the birth of football. This is a class struggle, which is more deadly than the relationship between Portsmouth and Southampton, and more deadly than the rose relationship between Manchester United and Leeds United. Portsmouth and Southampton called each other scabs, which was actually an internal contradiction of the working class. Manchester United and Leeds United were internal contradictions between old lords and aristocrats, represented by the red rose represented by Manchester United, and the white rose represented by Leeds United. But Newcastle and Sunderland were truly irreconcilable class contradictions. During the Industrial Revolution, Newcastle people had set fire to Sunderland's shipyard several times, and used explosives to cause several Sunderland mining disasters. Sunderland also organized workers to attack and loot Newcastle's town many times. Not to mention how many Newcastle and Sunderland people died during the Industrial Revolution, when the hooligan culture of football was prevalent. The number of people who died on both sides was no less than hundreds. Sunderland people are almost per capita fans, and they are very fanatical. But in the past, Sunderland did not have its own train station, so every time Sunderland people went to watch a game away, they had to go to Newcastle's train station to transfer and take a train, and Newcastle fans would ambush Sunderland people at the station, preventing them from watching the game. When Sunderland fans played against Newcastle United at home, all of them beat up Newcastle United, so much so that the English Football Association at the time once stipulated that when the two teams met at home and away fans were not allowed to watch the game on site. This led to the strange scene of away fans of the two teams watching the game on the big screen at their own team's home stadium. Chapter 522, Manchester United's Four Dark Kings, Baby Gian. Today, Black Cat Sheriff Stephen Bruce still uses Sunderland's usual 442 formation, playing long passes. Sunderland's two starting strikers are number 33 Had brother Asamoah Gyan and number 17 Bibu Danny Welbeck. The 25-year-old Gyan is 185 centimeters tall and weighs 80 kilograms. He is a typical impact center forward, but he can also play as an attacking forward. He has a large range of activities in the front court and plays more freely and flexibly. Gyan has outstanding physical fitness, good speed and explosive power, which makes him very threatening when he advances behind the defense. Gyan is the captain of the Ghana national team and the top scorer in Ghana's history. He has participated in 3 World Cups and scored 6 goals. He is the African player with the most goals in the World Cup finals. From 2012 to 2014, Gyan played 65 games for Al-Ain and scored 73 goals. In 2014, he won the AFC Golden Boot and the AFC Best Foreign Aid. In July 2015, the 29-year-old Gyan officially transferred to Shanghai SIPG for €12 million. Gyan's annual salary at Shanghai SIPG was as high as £11.8 million, which was the highest annual salary in the Asian League at that time, and ranked 12th in the world. At that time, the salaries of many world-class stars were far less than Gyan. When he first arrived in the Chinese Super League, Gyan performed well. In the second half of the 2015 season, Gyan played 17 times and scored 10 goals. For a quasi-world-class striker, it is indeed a bit unfair that he cannot play at a crushing level in a league like the Chinese Super League, where chickens fight each other, but at least he has scored goals, which is barely acceptable. But in the 2016 season, Gyan's state declined very quickly. With the highest salary in the Chinese Super League, he played worse than even the counterfeit goods, and was often injured. Shanghai SIPG had no choice but to introduce Oscar, and Gyan was also loaned back to Dubai Al Ahly in the United Arab Emirates. As a result, Gyan, who came to the Ahly team, was in great shape again, and helped the Ahly team win the Super Cup. But in the end, this former world-class star still failed to find a place in SIPG, and he quickly became a garbage star, and left SIPG as a free agent. Gyan is called the Hat Brother not because he can repeatedly offer hat tricks in the game, but because of his private life. When Gyan retired, his assets exceeded $30 million, which also made Gyan one of the richest players in Africa. After retiring, Gyan began to build his own business empire, investing in real estate, founding airlines, opening gold mines, and opening fund companies, from grain and oil to purified water, planning companies, record companies, etc. Everything is available. Gyan himself owns a mansion, dozens of luxury cars, and a private jet. It can be said that Gyan is very famous throughout Ghana and even throughout Africa. However, in 2021, Gyan filed for protective bankruptcy and sued his wife in court, claiming that the 3 children his wife gave birth to him were not his own. Even Gyan's brother couldn't stand Gyan's behavior. His brother used his own money to pay for his brother and sister's air tickets and the identification fees for their children. The court finally ruled that Gyan lost the case and required Gyan to pay $4,600 in child support every month. This is a drop in the bucket for Gyan, who transferred his property in advance and filed for bankruptcy because he declared that 3 consecutive children were not his own. Gyan was also called Hat Brother by the outside world. Gyan, who got rid of his ex-wife and children, should have been happy, but only 2 years later, retribution came. Gyan, who holds the title of the richest player in Africa, is really bankrupt. The reason for bankruptcy is that no one cares about him. He hangs out in bars and nightclubs every day, and every day he is drunk and dreaming. The money he spends in nightclubs every day is enough to pay his children a year's child support. With such a way of spending, even if there are mountains of gold and silver, it can't stand it. What's more, although Gyan has a lot of assets, he doesn't know how to manage them at all. He doesn't have a serious professional manager under him. He is nepotistic. These seemingly brothers quickly emptied and transferred his industry. By 2023, Gyan has lived a very miserable life. However, Gian was still at the peak of his career during his time at Sunderland. Another striker of Sunderland is number 17 Danny Welbeck, who is on loan from Manchester United and nicknamed Black Bibek, one of Manchester United's 4 Dark Kings. The current Sunderland is a team of the Manchester United faction. From the head coach to the loaned players, many of them are from Manchester United. Welbeck, 21 years old, is 185 centimeters tall and weighs 78 kilograms. He is full of physical energy, strong confrontation, extremely fast, and flexible. He is a relatively comprehensive striker. Welbeck is also a Ghanaian, but he was born in Manchester since he was a child, so he is considered a British of Ghanaian descent. Welbeck is a young player trained by the youth system of Manchester United Football Club. Welbeck joined Manchester United Football School in 2005 and officially signed with Manchester United youth team on July 1, 2007. Welbeck, who performed well, was named the best young player of the club in the 2007-08 season. Even Ferguson praised Welbeck's speed and said that Welbeck would be an important part of Manchester United's plan. Then, Ferguson loaned Welbeck out. This is also normal. After all, Manchester United is too big and there are too many world-class stars. At the age of 18 or 19, it is impossible for Welbeck to get a first-team position in Manchester United right away. He must be loaned out to level up. Only when the leveling is successful can he return to Manchester United. In fact, Welbeck's performance was still very eye-catching during his loan to Preston and Sunderland. Therefore, in August 2011, Welbeck was called back to Manchester United by Ferguson and appeared in the game where Manchester United slaughtered Arsenal 8-2. After scoring 1 goal, he pulled his thigh because of being too excited. After that, it was the period of Manchester United's 4 Dark Kings. Manchester United's 4 Dark Kings are: Nani can't pass, Young can't beat Ashley Young, Welbeck can't score, and Valencia can't shoot. The reason why Welbeck has the nickname Bellbeck is that, although he is very fast and often has single-handed opportunities, his ability to grasp the score is very poor. His shooting is basically based on luck, and his passing is basically to shake himself first. Then, Welbeck transferred from Manchester United's bench to Arsenal's bench. Welbeck is also one of the few players who Ferguson had high hopes for, but failed to play world class. Another player who was once highly expected by Ferguson, but failed to play, is China's Dong Fangzhou. Of course, Dong Fangzhou delayed the treatment of his knee injury in order to play in the Olympic Games, so he ultimately failed to play. Chapter 523 That Man. Anfield Football Blind Filter. Sunderland's starting left winger is the former Dutch Golden Generation left winger, number 7 Baldwin Zenden. Zenden, now 34 years old, has long lost his former fame. Zenden is a speed-type flying wing. In Zenden's prime, he was definitely one of the 3 fastest players in the world. But unfortunately, once a speed-type player is seriously injured, he is basically scrapped. After being seriously injured and scrapped, Zenden can still play as a starter in Sunderland at the age of 34, and can also help Sunderland advance to the 6th round of the FA Cup and the 9th place in the Premier League. This is enough to show how awesome Zenden was in his heyday. Zenden did not play football since he was a child, but trained judo with his father, and obtained a black belt in judo. However, Zenden eventually chose to play football as his career. Zenden was the best player in the Dutch league as early as 1997, and after the 1998 World Cup, he moved to the Spanish superclub Barcelona, and then moved to Chelsea, Liverpool, Marseille, and now to Sunderland. Zenden started at PSV Eindhoven, and was a teammate of the equally young Ronaldo at PSV Eindhoven when he was young. Zenden is a player who matures and becomes disabled early. After a serious injury in 1998, he has been further and further away from the Giants. Now, 34-year-old Zenden starts as a left winger, and Southampton will not feel too much pressure. Sunderland's starting right winger is that man, the number 10 core, Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson, 20 years old, is 183 centimeters tall and weighs 66 kilograms. As the most titled king in England, Henderson has been playing in Sunderland's youth training camp since he was 7 years old, and has played all the way from the youth camp to the youth camp. During this period, He helped Sunderland's youth team win the U18 Youth League Championship. It was not until the 2006-07 season that he entered Sunderland's first team and became the absolute main core of the team in a very short time. The 20-year-old Henderson has speed, burst, stamina, confrontation, positioning, passing, stopping, dribbling, passing, and long shots. He is a perfect example of a British star. As a team of the Manchester United faction, the stars trained by Sunderland naturally yearned to join the Manchester United club. Henderson took photos with Manchester United stars when he was very young, looking forward to joining Manchester United one day. However, after watching Henderson play, Manchester United coach Ferguson was not impressed by Henderson. Ferguson pointed out very sharply that Henderson's running posture was weird, and it was easy to get injured when in contact with confrontation. Ferguson's vision has proved to be very sharp. As Henderson's number of Premier League games gradually increased, Henderson's career has been plagued by injuries, which greatly hindered Henderson's performance. Therefore, Henderson has become a more famous king of memes than Chamberlain. Henderson's titles include, but are not limited to, the anti-De Bruyne, the world's top 5 B2B, the MVP who doesn't play, 1/2 Henry plus 1/3 Drogba plus 1/4 Asensio, the brake pads of Maserati, the anonymous autobiography From 3 Lungs to Can't Breathe, the Anfield football blind filter. The successor personally appointed by Gerrard, the captain of the Red Army, the public welfare ambassador of targeted poverty alleviation for weak teams, and the man who is so great that his name cannot be called directly. After transferring to Liverpool in August 2011, it was the most difficult period in Henderson's career. Henderson was controversial and ridiculed, but Henderson persisted and gradually grew from being ridiculed by everyone to becoming the loyal sole captain of Liverpool and the bean in the mouth of the Red Army fans. Today, Southampton's main target of defense is this British star, Henderson. Sunderland's starting two midfielders are the number 8 player, the 31-year-old Stade Malbranque from France, and the number 6 captain, Lee Catamol. Malbranque stood slightly forward, serving as Sunderland's offensive front midfielder, while Catamol fell back to act as an engineer-style sweeping back midfielder. Malbranque is 168 centimeters tall and weighs 73 kilograms. His dribbling skills are world class. When he was young, he was hailed as the hope of France and the successor of Zidane. Malbranque has also been the captain of the French youth team and performed very well in the youth team. Arsenal, coached by Wenger, likes French players very much, so when Malbranque was still playing for Lyon, Wenger picked Malbranque at first sight and offered Lyon a transfer contract with a generous price. At that time, Arsenal still had money. However, Malbranque rejected Wenger. Malbranque thought he was not ready to join a supergiant, and he wanted to gain experience first. So Malbranque moved around in teams of the level of Fulham, Tottenham, and Sunderland. The 31-year-old Malbranque felt that he was ready, but Arsenal no longer needed a 31-year-old veteran who only had outstanding dribbling skills. Even if they need to, Arsenal can't afford the transfer money now. In 2012, Malbranque, who tried to dribble like Zidane, failed to show off and transferred back to Lyon. Some things, once you show off too much, you will miss them. Captain number 6 Lee Catamol is 23 years old this year, 178 centimeters tall and 76 kilograms in weight. Although Catamol is not tall, he is famous for his indestructible running in the Premier League and is also recognized as one of the top 10 engineers in the Premier League. Catamol's nickname is Card Master. He has received 87 yellow cards and 7 red cards in the Premier League. Judging from this data alone, Catamol seems to be an unforgivable villain, but in fact, Catamol's running, interception, and even footwork are all first class. However, his position and the strength of the team he is in require him to use some foul-like means to prevent the opponent's breakthrough and limit the performance of the opponent's core players. If he doesn't kick people and doesn't stand up for his teammates, Catamol feels that he has no meaning to exist. In today's game, Catamol will certainly try his best to limit the connection between Guran and Lallana. Sunderland's starting left back is number 3, Giggs' successor and cousin Kieran Richardson. Kieran Richardson is 26 years old, 176 centimeters tall and weighs 68 kilograms. He is a versatile player. Kieran can not only play as a left back, but also as a left midfielder, left forward, and front midfielder. Kieran started from Manchester United's youth training team. After the famous class of '92, he was in the same period as Gibson, Morrison, Fabio, and Welbeck. He is also a player who starts high and ends low. Ferguson once commented that Kieran was Giggs' successor, but after Manchester United spent a lot of money to buy Hargreaves, Anderson and Nani, Kieran had no chance to play in Manchester United, so in 2007, Kieran took the initiative to transfer to Sunderland, a team of Manchester United faction, trying to impress Ferguson and Manchester United fans through his performance in Sunderland. However, Kieran did not make it. After retiring, Kieran worked in the watch business and became a world-renowned watch merchant, nicknamed Cousin. Chapter 524. The first show is the peak of life. The man who tackled his teammate Cristiano Ronaldo. Sunderland starting right back is number 2 player Phil Bardsley. Bardsley, 25 years old, was born in Manchester United's youth training, and he and Ferguson are both Scottish. So Bardsley also entered Ferguson's vision very early with his excellent performance, and entered Manchester United's first team early. Bardsley's most amazing battle was his debut battle at Manchester United when he was 18 years old. At that time, it was the FA Cup knockout match. Manchester United visited West Bromwich. Bardsley started, played as a right back, and was on the same side with the right winger Cristiano Ronaldo. Being able to start and play with so many world-class superstars of Manchester United is definitely a godsend for Bardsley, who is only 18 years old. But just like this, it can't be considered awesome. The result of this game was that Manchester United lost 0-2. However, what really made Bardsley famous in one battle was that 5 minutes into the game, Bardsley shoveled Cristiano Ronaldo, who was running with the ball on the right side, from behind. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded. Even the DJ and the commentator didn't know how to describe the scene. Even novels don't dare to write such a plot. But it really happened. Yes, Bardsley shoveled his teammate. At that time, Ronaldo got up with an angry face and yelled at Bardsley, "Are you sick?" Bardsley said excitedly, "Brother, your step down turn and breakthrough just now was so beautiful. I can't help but shovel you." In the subsequent interview, the reporter asked Bardsley what he was thinking at the time and whether it was for traffic. Bardsley answered very seriously that he usually defended Cristiano Ronaldo during training. The two of them played very roughly. Cristiano would make him bleed, and he would also make Cristiano bleed. Because he was too involved in the previous training, he couldn't help but shovel him when he saw Cristiano dribbling on the field. Since that debut, Bardsley was loaned out by Ferguson and rarely had the opportunity to return to Manchester United to play. In desperation, Bardsley had to transfer to Sunderland. But Bardsley still believed that he was part of Manchester United's plan, so when Sunderland played against Manchester United, Bardsley would be particularly excited and ruthlessly tackle Manchester United players. He wanted to use such practical actions to let Ferguson see him. But no matter what, Bardsley is a ruthless man. His sliding tackle is very fierce and aggressive. Sunderland's two starting central defenders are number 29 world number 1 defender's brother Anton Ferdinand and number 12 Argentine flower Marcus Angelari. Anton Ferdinand is 26 years old, 183 centimeters tall and weighs 71 kilograms. His steals, speed, confrontation, and offensive positioning are still good, but under the halo of his brother Rio Ferdinand, Anton Ferdinand is basically incomparable. The halo of his brother always hangs over Anton Ferdinand's head. In addition, Anton Ferdinand had a very unpleasant experience with Terry. Of course, it was not that Terry slept with his girlfriend, but in a certain game, Terry swore at Anton Ferdinand, and Anton Ferdinand sued Terry for discrimination in his words, and the two took the case to court. After this incident, the two shook hands and made peace. But it can't be seen from this incident that Anton Ferdinand is soft on the field, but his mentality is very calculative after leaving the field. From this point alone, he can't become a world-class central defender like his brother. It should be said that his brother Rio Ferdinand transferred from Leeds United to Manchester United. Leeds United scolded his brother almost crazy, but his brother still ate well and slept well, and played better and better. Anton Ferdinand is a typical player whose reputation is greater than his strength. Of course, most of this reputation is due to his brother. Another central defender is Marcus Angelari, who has the figure and appearance of a male model. Marcus Angelari, 28 years old, is 182 centimeters tall and weighs 68 kilograms. He is the main fullback of Argentina. But at the same time, Marcus Angelari can also play as a central defender, sweeper, right wing back and other positions. Unlike many ugly South American players, Marcus Angelari looks very handsome. In addition, he is very fast, has good explosive power, good anticipation, good defensive positioning, and first-class steals. The only shortcoming is that as a central defender, his confrontation is too poor, his header is not very good, and he is often prone to injury. However, with his experience and popularity, it is enough to start in Sunderland. Overall, Sunderland's midfield lineup is still good, and the two full-backs are also players from Manchester United, but Sunderland's two central defenders are actually average. Of course, this average level is based on the standards of the Premier League giants. In fact, Sunderland's central defender combination is still far stronger than Southampton's central defender combination. Sunderland is not without tall central defenders. Number 4 Michael Turner is a central defender with a height of 193 centimeters. Michael Turner has excellent heading ability and is very tenacious in defense. His anticipation and positioning are also first class. Michael Turner is also a key player in Sunderland's promotion from the Championship to the Premier League. Michael Turner should have started the game as the central defender, but Michael Turner injured his ankle in the previous training. Now the injury has not fully recovered, so he can only sit on the bench to watch the game. In view of the fact that Sunderland's two central defenders are not tall, Southampton's tactics today are naturally the front court high ball tactics. Finally, Sunderland's starting goalkeeper is number 22, the 22-year-old Belgian goalkeeper, Mignon Simon Mignolet. The level of Mignolet is a controversial topic. Mignolet made his debut at the Sint-Truiden Football Club in the Belgian First Division. During the 6 years, he played a total of 104 games for the Sint-Truiden Football Club, including 28 games of 0 shootouts. In the 3 years since he moved to Sunderland, he played 101 games for Sunderland and kept 33 clean sheets. This clean sheet rate is still quite high, and he is only 22 years old. Mignolet is definitely one of the most outstanding young goalkeepers in Europe, and can even suppress Courtois and another young talented goalkeeper, Karius. After leaving Sunderland, Mignolet moved to Liverpool, and competed with Karius for the position of the first goalkeeper for a long time. Such an unstable playing environment also made Mignolet very uncomfortable, and he often made low-level mistakes in the game. Of course, no matter how big his mistakes were, they were not as big as Karius's mistakes. But Mignolet was far inferior to his compatriot Courtois in the middle and late stages. When Mini was still struggling to find a starting opportunity in Liverpool, Courtois had already joined Real Madrid. In addition to being a great goalkeeper, Courtois was also very good at sleeping with his teammate De Bruyne's girlfriend Caroline. After the 2.0 version of the friend's wife gate was exposed, Caroline, who looks like an old lady, said in an interview that, after De Bruyne slept with her best friend, she had the idea of putting a hat on De Bruyne. She also emphasized that Courtois is much more fierce than De Bruyne. How to say it? When women become fierce, they are really scary. When ugly women become fierce, they are even more ***king scary. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.